And if you go to the following page 14, I don't think there is a page number at the bottom. You'll get a sense of what was replaced over the course of, this chart shows back as far as 2015, what the replacement cycle looked like. And again, the police department is trying to adopt, a life cycle management process so that they don't get behind and, we don't find ourselves needing more than one car or having one car out of service. And I do think it's important also as we talk about this, if you look at page 15, we also provided you with some information on maintenance and repairs to the vehicles over the course of the last few years. So again, as vehicles age, the cost of repairs do go up. But if we, again, I want to be sensitive to time, but again, looking at, the chief is looking to replace this vehicle with a Tahoe. He has the experience over the last few years of the Fords and the Tahoes and which hold up better, which are better on back roads, dirt roads. So they would be looking at replacing this vehicle with a Tahoe, better built, larger cargo space. So, and you'll see the last bullet on page 9 kind of addresses the failure to approve the purchases of vehicles in past budgets, where it's put them particularly having significant failures in vehicles that are getting older due to the age and the usage at this point in time. Slide 11 gives you a little bit of overview of why the need for 7 police vehicles, what the typical scheduling looks like for the officers, how they're assigned the vehicles, and the issues when vehicles are out for repair or maintenance. So for example, Patrol 5, when it lost its engine, that whole vehicle goes out of service at that particular time. So then they have to look at, whether they're gonna use one of the command vehicles in its place for that period of time. They have 12 full-time officers, 2 part-time officers, the 5 patrol vehicles, the 2 command vehicles, and how they're assigned to the particular officers. Make sure I haven't missed anything. So I guess that's a quick overview for the cars. I don't know if you want me to keep going or you want me to pause, ask questions on the vehicles, and then we'll go to the carport.
Yeah, are there any, I think, questions in the vehicles, Mike?
Okay.
If anybody has any?
Go ahead. Did we buy a vehicle this year?
No.
There's on 2025, it says pending for a number of cars bought.
What page are you on?
Page 14.
Page 14. No.
That's last year's slide.
Yeah, do you know if that was put there when you thought before they decided to replace the engine on Patrol 5?
On page 14, that's my current request.
That's the one that's going in for
Yeah, that's
2026,
my current
okay.
warrant article.
For this year?
Yes. What we're talking about
Okay.
right
It
now.
should say
pending request.
26
Thank you.
instead of 25,
Well, then all my years will be off. That's how I've done
Yeah.
on the whole chart.
yeah.
And just one clarification and then one point. It's a combination of funds offsetting the warrant article. Special detail funds are actually 16,566, and I hope those aren't 8s. Funds, and then White Farm auction funds, we're using 8,717. And also, we were just talking about the MDT. We have the MDT in the budget and in the warrant article. Obviously, if both pass, I won't be getting 2 MDTs. I'm only gonna get 1
What's
MDT.
the initials?
Mobile data terminal, that's that computer in the car, because I put it in the budget, but it is still in the warrant article.
Got it.
You gonna return it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I believe I've been corrected before. That's up to the Board of Selectmen to make that determination.
So you're not gonna spend it on something else?
No. Scouts honor.
How does that fund look next year after taking, it was 16,000, you said?
So, special detail funds, it's over 45,000 last time I took. I can only use that proportional. I can't take the whole 45 and apply it to one article. I have to, because of how it was set up, it has to be proportional to how much we used it on details, and we've had a lot of details over the past 2 years. So we've got a good fund. I should be able to offset it roughly $15,000 and $20,000 per year for the next several years.
Okay.
So,
So, I
really,
mean-
really good fund.
That money that you're taking out should almost be back next year, after.
Hopefully, as long as the details, we've had a lot of electrical work, done, that's probably coming to the end, so it's definitely gonna slow down. So telephone work is increasing now, so, but eventually that'll come to an end too.
Yeah.
We've had a good cycle.
As of the last select board meeting, I think that fund was just shy of 47,000.
Yep.
Bill?
Chief, last year you had the problem with the transmission.
Yes, that was, I believe, 2. All the Dodges,
I know there was one
Yeah.
that was out of service at the time when it went through and you requested it and it didn't pass.
correct.
Is one of the, that was fixed, evidently?
Yes.
That's one of these remaining cars? It's not
Correct.
the one with the engine out, it's a different one. It's a
Correct.
different one?
Yeah, I believe it was 2, which is also a Dodge.
Okay. Okay.
Once the warrant article failed, I went to the Board of Selectmen to approve, get
Right,
funding approved, to get
right.
it fixed.
No, I understand. So there's an engine being put in Patrol 5,
And that's completed. We just got that back this week.
okay. But that still will be the one that'll be replaced?
No.
No?
It
You don't.
was at that time. Now we're gonna look at which Dodge is
Whichever
actually
one's
the
worse,
worst.
it'll be replaced.
Right.
Okay.
One Dodge has been out consistently pretty much this whole year for some type of
So
malfunction.
it'll be luck of the draw, whichever
It-
Dodge
it
craps
will be.
out first, will be the one that's being replaced. Okay,
Correct.
Got it,
Hopefully it's just one.
yeah.
Yes.
We've talked about this. You're spending a lot of money on the Dodges.
Yes.
And I know they've moved money around from highway and everywhere else to make everybody's budgets work. But you must have blown your repair line sometime this year with all the creativity with the cart, correct?
Yes, correct. Yes, ma'am.
By how much?
We're over 15,000 now, but in the CIP presentation,
What was the line item?
Slide 15 is the police department repair.
Yes, so slide 15 shows you what they spent, but what were they budgeted?
we're only budgeted 10.
That's what I thought.
I think that's what she was
what
asking,
the default
what they were
Yep.
budgeted, yeah.
In the CIP, I figured it out, that
Page 50,
we spend $5.02 maintaining a Dodge for every dollar we spend maintaining a Tahoe. So 502% increase. That's a big number.
And I
Big to go.
apologize, I said Fords, but I meant Dodges. I
That's
hope you
fine.
caught that.
Fords would have been a much higher number.
Any other questions on that? Neil?
Yeah, on page 11, it says we have 12 full-time officers. Could you explain how we got there from the 10 that were authorized?
We're authorized 12. It's always been authorized 12. Since I've been here, we've had 12. 12 and then 2 part-timers were authorized.
Wasn't there a warrant article that authorized 10?
Maybe a long time ago, but since I've lived here, it's been 12.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, that includes myself in that 12. So I'm not separate. Okay, thank you.
If you, all set on the vehicles?
Yeah, we all set?
With the vehicles, yeah?
Yeah.
If you turn to slide 16, page 16. Also in the budget is a 5-bay carport will be used to house the vehicle, and the picture that you see on the slide is not an exact replica. There'll be one enclosed bay within the structure so that they can use that for evidence storage. Currently, all evidence is being stored off-site in storage facilities. annually, they're spending around $2,500 in storage, for storage unit fees. This would also allow them, if it was a vehicle that they were needing to store for evidence, they could actually bring the vehicle in. The remaining bays would be used to house the vehicles, the police vehicles. Again, currently, they're out in the elements, so in the wintertime, snowstorms, the police officers are having to maintain those vehicles so that if they do get a call, they can go out. The cold, the heat in the summer, they have had past damage and repairs due to the cars being out in the heat all summer long. So this would actually give them the opportunity to put that under cover. The cost of this is for a 5-bay carport. The pad is already there. It is existing in the parking lot, and it also has the facilities to it, the electrical facilities. So this cost is to cover the putting up of the structure. The pad is already there. And again, it's just, it improves readiness and protection of the vehicles.
Is there a priority, there's no priority listed on this? Is that,
It says
Page nine.
necessary.
page 9, just blank, just curious.
Two.
I think it was as necessary. I think it was a necessary. Yeah,
It's necessary?
Yeah.
Is that the priority?
yeah.
It's not urgent.
Again, as we looked at, again, the chief spoke to, we also have to look at the readiness of the staff, out cleaning up the cars with snow before they can go on a call in the wintertime, those types of things. So having some protection for the vehicles and improving the readiness for the officers to go out on a call in a snowstorm adds value.
And that's the same amount as last year? Is it, feels like it.
I believe it was 25,000 last year. Because the warrant article failed, and it has to go to bid if it's approved, I didn't get an updated quote. The quote for the actual building was around 21,000 for the winning bid. And then we have a little bit of electrical work to do as well as some safety features. I put 30 just to be safe. I still would imagine to be under 25. Like she mentioned, we had damage to cars because they sit outside. We got the damage again on all the Dodges. The driver's side door panels has become unglued again. It's a safety issue. I'm gonna have to get them fixed. That's probably gonna be about $3,000 or $1,000 per Dodge. I'm gonna wait for one until after it's, I'm gonna wait till after to see what the warrant article does, because I don't know which Dodge we'll get rid of if the warrant article passes. But also just a scenario. Everybody remembers the bombing suspect we had in town. He still had a bomb in his truck when we got him. Before we knew that, because we hadn't searched it yet, we had the truck towed to our bay in our facility. If that went off, that would have been a bad thing. So having a separate storage area to put something like that in would be a good thing, because that'd be a lot less damage. Just to throw that out there.
Why would you put that vehicle?
We have to secure it. It can't be out in public, so we're gonna process it. Process it means, check for prints, look for evidence, stuff like that, in a secure area. That's our only secure area, large enough currently that we have to use. And then once we started searching it, we saw the other explosive device, and we told the tow truck driver very gently, get that out of our building, which he did.
Now, where this goes, you come in this way, because there's two entrances, right? And then there's the front part of the building. So if you come in here, it's gonna be on this side, backed up against your neighbors.
Right where our cars are currently parked is where it goes.
This is on the south end of the parking lot.
Yes, sir.
Correct. How far away from that should you have one of those vehicles that you thought might explode? If you had it over there, would you have to worry about your neighbors?
It'd still be closer to our building. Obviously, you can't plan for every contingency there.
I'm just looking at lawsuits.
Oh, sure, yeah. No, well, I mean, that's where good faith comes in. once we find the bomb, obviously, we're not gonna tow it next to his property. We just put it in the middle of the parking lot, and then the bomb squad was already on scene, and they neutralized it. They have specific, big containers, they put those things in, and then they can transport them away and detonate them. But, yeah.
What kind of electric, are you having on this building?
So just, I think it was a couple floodlights outside just to illuminate, and then one light, motion sensor on each bay, and then in the actual bay which encloses, lights on every corner to illuminate in case we do have to process something. We can really daylight where we can really see what we're doing. That will be switch operated. Still have the motion light just for general parking, but then we could actually close it, seal it, and turn on the lights to really see what we're doing.
Do you have any idea what the electricity cost for that would be, like in future budgets?
No,
Okay.
it's minimal because everything's motion censored.
Okay.
And really, we're not LED yet.
Okay.
Hopefully, we can progress where we get LED in the building. There are some areas which we should put motion sensors on inside the building, because I come in and lights are left on frequently, to alleviate that. And that should definitely offset what we're seeing.
You would go LED
Oh,
on the
absolutely.
new construction, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
that's a big difference.
So LED and motion sensor.
Correct.
Chief, is there any standards or security that's required on the evidence bay that would have to be installed or taken into consideration?
That is an excellent point. So we couldn't put just everything in there. Like we couldn't put narcotics or firearms or stuff like that. Yes,
there's
there would be.
categories of
Yeah,
what
we
would be
put
allowed.
all that stuff in our main evidence locker. This is more for big items.
Okay.
Vehicles, we've had kayaks, a bunch of
remember the
different
kayak.
stuff that we couldn't actually put in our building where we have to store somewhere. That's why we have to rent a site. And obviously, if we're no longer renting a site, once it would offset what this cost in the long run, and then reduce the budget by $2,500.
That was the question. So every year that you're now spending $2,500 for an off-site storage, you would not need to do that.
Correct. Yeah.
So over 10 years, this building would be paid for by that saving.
Yes. If it was 25,000.
Yeah.
Hi, Chief, also in regards to that cost of the 2,500, is that regarding just a storage facility, or does that also include the mileage and gas and the depreciation on the vehicles you swear down? Because I'm assuming it would be perhaps even less than 10 years on a payoff if we start to roll in some other expenses.
Yeah, absolutely agree, but I didn't get that technical into it. I just used straight up rental fees.
Okay, so I just remember last year, the year before, I don't remember, in the past couple of years, that there was like the Manchester transportation. I don't know if that was also relative to the warrant article on the vehicle.
Oh.
Remind us, I don't.
I'm in 100% agreement with you, and where that would be even more applicable is our vehicle repairs, because our officers spend so much time running vehicles to different facilities to get them repaired because they're not replaced in a timely manner. That would, yeah.
Got it.
If I track that, that repair line would drastically increase between mileage, depreciation, officer hours, everything used to facilitate the repair of the vehicles.
Understood, thank you.
Chief, what's the estimated annual savings for the vehicle? Like if they were housed in the carport? You had mentioned that the sun and damage.
So it's not really an annual, about 3 or 4 years ago, I had to pay just under, I think, $3,000 to have the Dodge's door panel glued back on. It's come undone again because it sits out in the sun with the different humidity levels, and it's unglued, and of course it sticks out. That's, that could impede an officer from getting out in a timely manner if he needed to bail out of the car for
So rough
some kind of
estimate,
situation.
3,000 in 4 years?
Yes.
Is there,
Obviously, there's time, just like she mentioned, anytime there's a snowstorm, they're out there clearing cars instead of patrolling. That would be a big time saver.
is there any estimate on time of arrival that would count for liability discounts or anything that would impact savings on that?
I don't know if insurance companies actually give us any how they set the rates, if it's based on our arrival time. I've never had an insurance company request the numbers,
Okay.
but that's a good point. You work for insurance?
No.
Okay.
I wonder if the car is undercover, if that's something that you can tell them, and it might be, I don't
A
know.
discount.
We have had to replace decals too because they become so faded from being in the sun. I don't recall what the cost for that was, off the top of my head, and that was just 1 or 2 cars, not all cars, but also Dodges.
Correct me too if I'm wrong, but this rendition, these will be open bays.
Correct, yeah, no doors
So
on
just want to
those.
make sure that everybody understands the one bay would be enclosed. Everything else are open bays. It's just the best picture we could find
But
for
the
this.
car is
like-
completely undercover
Yeah.
at that point.
Yes.
It's exposed, but it's under.
Yes, that's correct.
And only 4 cars would be able to be housed at a time.
5.
5.
So the in bay would stay open unless we had
Okay.
evidence in there. It would be a usable bay.
Thank you.
Bill, you had a question?
Not related to this. Once you're done with this, I just had a general question.
Oh, okay. Anything else on the carport? Okay.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
we've gone multiple years with default budgets. Just tell me, if you had to live with a default budget this year, what's the biggest impact on the biggest couple of items, bullet items?
Tasers, and ballistic equipment are the biggest items because those are,
Okay.
we had our second, well, I'll describe an individual was in a mental health crisis, and when you walk up on somebody and they have cauliflower ears, you know what that means. He's a very experienced fighter. We did have taser deployments on him. He could have done some damage, but he restrained himself, but he did not want to go with us. Tasers are an excellent tool to help us control those type of situations. We're coming to a point where we're essentially throwing money away because we have to have a taser program. The tasers are going to be expired in 2028, and instead of getting 3 a year where it builds in, because they have a 5-year life cycle, we're going to have some which we're only going to keep for 3 or 4 years to roll them into that life cycle program. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I mean, we're really throwing away money by not adopting a program like that as early as we can. Obviously, there are other expenses in my budget. For instance, the Gulf Down dispatch contract, which, I mean, that is what it is. That's another big expense, but I have no control over that. That's just a contract. But those 3 together are $45,000 of my $60-something thousand proposal. So,
But a cruiser is important, yes or no?
absolutely.
You
We
want
are
that.
critical on cruisers right now. We're 2 years behind, is where we're at.
Rated as urgent.
Okay. Nice. Chief?
Thank you very much.
And there's nothing for animal control.
There's nothing on here. Right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking back to the budget, emergency management?
So emergency management, a slight increase of $801, mostly that's due to office supplies. That's for the update of electronic devices. Their projector needs to be replaced in the EOC. And for the fire department, he's requesting an increase of $49,337. Majority of that is for his dispatch, but it's called Capital Area Mutual Aid. That was an increase of $13,730.
Beth, Tom, I don't know if this is the time to ask it, so let me know. On emergency management
yep.
supplies and things, are we staffed for if we have an event? Do we have what we need? And is that a question you want me to wait till we go to fire directly, or?
Yep, Chief? While we're on emergency management.
What was the question? I didn't.
Well, we're looking at emergency management line item.
Yes.
We've been lucky we haven't had any events recently. But should we have an event, do we know where we're going, and do we have cots and all the things that you need to handle those events?
Yes.
Okay. Where do we go?
Where does who go?
If you're having an event, do we know where our emergency management
The
center?
Emergency Management Center is the training room of the fire department.
Okay.
Didn't we have an event this year? There was a large fire?
Yep, we had a large brush fire, multiple day, multiple jurisdiction, yep. But yes, the Emergency Management Center area for the town, the EOC, is the training room of the fire department.
And if you have to set up a station for residents to go, it's the school, correct?
Right now, they're still working on that, but yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Don't go far, chief. Okay, so, fire department. So the capital area mutual aid contract, it's an agreement, not a contract, $13,730 increase. Building maintenance is a large increase of $3,500. You'll see a large increase for the cisterns. He made an agreement with the Board of Selectmen to remove the lawn care, the cistern lawn care out of the contract, and that him and his department will maintain the cisterns. So right above the cistern line is the decrease of lawn care. What other large increases do we have? The protective clothing, increase that line by $5,000 because he needs to replace a minimum of 2 sets of gear per year. And vehicle maintenance, another department, increase of $6,000 for vehicle maintenance. And then radio equipment, to buy 2 radios a year, so that was an increase of $11,400. You have questions for the fire chief?
What was the total percent increase over proposed for that one, or over?
3.6.
3.6. That was my only comment about it was, I thought that at some
Yes.
point Benji had, suggested department heads come in under 3%. And this was over, so.
Yeah, he was a little over on his 3.6%. We had another budget later that came in under budget, yeah, which is nice. Questions for the fire chief?
I guess we can talk about it when we do capital improvement, but there's an $8,000 increase to start a program to refurbish cisterns, and how does that relate to the cistern capital CIP item? And just,
Oh, okay.
you know, I
I
guess
think
there's,
it might be offset a little bit by that one.
oh,
The cisterns in the operating budget are all the cisterns that we currently have,
yeah.
and they're maintaining them. The one in CIP is for a cistern we do not have yet.
Oh, it's for a new one. Okay.
It's not this year anymore.
And it's
Pushed off.
it's been deferred. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you're right. Yeah, these are offset, but they're different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions for the fire chief? Want to do CIP for fire?
So if you go to page 8 on your presentation, there were 2 items originally that was submitted to CIP. Portable ventilators by the rescue, and the cistern. I'm gonna start at the cistern because we did pull that. Originally, there was a request for $100,000 to install a cistern at the safety complex. My understanding is when the building was originally built, that cistern being at that building was in the plans and it was removed prior to budget approval, I think due to the cost and as a effort to reduce the cost of that building. The chief can probably speak to it better than I can, but this year with the number of brush fires in town, the drought, the difficulty getting water, raised the issue again as to whether the cistern would be needed. But after discussion, that will be deferred to 2027. And you will notice in this presentation, when you look out in the year's projections for 2027, that did not get added back in. So that's one figure that is missing in that. So that has been removed from this presentation. So the only request from the fire department were the portable ventilators. If you go to page 8, and again, the cost is $50,000. The funding for this will come out of the ambulance billing special revenue fund. Again, as of the last select board meeting that I attended, that fund was just shy of $85,000. So the tax impact will be zero on this. You can kind of see a picture of the unit on page 8. It has a 10-year life expectancy. Let me tell you just a little bit about why. So currently, they use a very manual device, a device that is somewhat archaic for this time period with advanced technology. Right now, it requires a person to be pumping that machine and hopefully doing it at the right speed and the right amount of time. And it also takes that person away from being able to do other things for the patient because they have to be focused on that. This machine would do the ventilations automatically, freeing up that person to spend more time with the patient. This ventilator is now considered a standard of care, and most of the surrounding communities have this type of equipment. It kind of puts us in line with what the other areas in the region are doing. And again, the device that's currently used is the BiPAP CPAP machine. It would still be there as a backup, but this would become the primary mechanism to ventilate a patient who was not breathing, unconscious, while they are transporting the patient from the scene to a hospital. And again, allowing that person who today has to manually do that to be more focused on the patient's condition and caring for the patient. So that is the request, only request right now at the fire department. Any questions? I don't know if I did it justice, but
So, this supplements the CPR device that was purchased last year?
I don't know that this is, I don't think so. They've been using what's called the BiPAP CPAP. I think the CPR device is
Maybe a
something different.
So
Totally
Yeah.
different use?
Totally different use. The Lucas device, the CPR devices that we have, those free up people also. This device here would be if you have like an asthmatic patient, COPD, or someone's in cardiac arrest.
They're breathing,
This
but
is the machine breathes for them instead of someone sitting there with a bag valve mask, which is human error.
yeah,
Right, so this is why this is the standard of care now, moving forward.
I understand.
And it, it does not produce the compressions in a CPR
Right.
situation. It is.
This just breathes for
It's
you.
breathes for the patient. And can be set to different settings, again, depending on the patient's resistance and those kinds of things. Yeah, so it's more accurate, delivers a more accurate oxygen to the patient than today with somebody squeezing it.
Question on the cistern, was that moved just for the cost amount to kind of defer the cost out? Or is there any kind of risk to be aware of? With, you mentioned the drought and, fires that we've
Yeah,
had.
we kind of switched gears on that late in the game. I still believe that the cistern is needed. Again, it'll probably show up on 2027. The big reason for, and I'm up here, I might as well tell you about it. The big reason for the cistern, again, when the safety complex was built, it was supposed to have a 30,000 gallon cistern at the station, okay? And that didn't happen. It was taken out to reduce the price of the safety complex so it would pass the budget. So here we are, down the road, and now's the time we gotta put one in. Right now, in the summertime, it's not that bad. If we have a fire, we go to one of our pump sites, and we get water. We draft water out of the lake, out of a pond. And that's not a problem, it's not an issue. What the huge problem is if we have a fire or anything where we have to replace the water in the engines in the wintertime, if we go to one of our pump sites, we have to send someone out, put someone in an ice suit, send them out, cut a hole in the ice, because there has to be atmospheric pressure, so we have to cut a hole in the ice, and then we could draft out of that to fill that. That's not fun doing that at 2 AM when it's freezing rain out and we have to fill a truck. The school, middle school, has been extremely gracious because their cistern that they have there at the school automatically refills. So with permission, we go up there and we fill our truck there and take water out of their tank. That's really not fair to the school district. They're maintaining that, their pump, their electricity, their everything. That's not there for us to go suck water out of when we don't, when we should be doing that out of our own stuff. So this is a big safety concern, that the cistern needs to be at the firehouse. If you look on the side where the garage is, and if you have a chance to walk over there, there's actually a giant hole in the ground that was made for where that cistern was gonna go in. Now, filling the cistern, when the building was built, it was designed that during the summertime, all the rainwater that comes off of the roof of the building all gets collected and is all drained underground and it would fill that cistern. So it would automatically refill it. Now, that doesn't say in the winter time that if we did have a large fire where we used all the water out of that, which is very possible that we do, then we would have to go again to one of our pump sites, but that could be during the day. It's not under emergency situation, you know what I'm saying? We don't, we don't have to get it right then and there. But if the truck runs out, if we're out of water after a fire call, if it's a car fire or something like that, and again in the middle of the night, we normally went up to south, okay? And there's an irrigation pump that's in there, and we can fill a truck up there. It takes about an hour, a little over an hour to fill the truck. But this summer, we experienced a problem with that well up there, and the well went dry. So, and that well services the building, so we didn't have any facilities, no toilet, no running water, no nothing up there. So we can't keep taxing that well, because I don't know it's been up there a while. It's good now to go and flush a toilet and wash your hands, but to go up there and fill repeatedly, pulling a couple thousand gallons at a time out of it, the well's not designed for that. So that's the cistern
Thank you.
in a nutshell, kinda. Big nut.
Got a question,
Line 328, that's on the top of page 7. This year you spent, let's call it $9,000. Do you expect to spend the same amount for building maintenance every year?
The building maintenance unfortunately for the town, there's very little when it comes to that. For instance, here we go again, back to when things were built, when the safety complex was built, we have multiple garage doors, right? All the garage doors, motors that we have on the garage doors were residential garage door motors. They're not meant to go up and down 5, 6 times, 8 times a day, 10 times a day. And to replace one of them was $4,000.
So in other words, you do
And
expect to spend the $9,000 each year?
I expect to spend $9,000, and I reduced that.
Okay.
Because I asked for more money than that, just because the buildings we have to get to a point where we catch up with building maintenance. The buildings are just starting to fail, And as they fail, there's just more and more money that we're pouring into that.
Okay, next on line 345, the photocopier service. It says this is year 2 of 5. Does that mean you have a 5-year contract?
Yes, I would say, right, Beth? Yes.
If that's the case, then why isn't the default budget the same as the proposed?
Because the contract wasn't approved in last year's budget.
That's one of those lines that changed.
Okay, thank you. And then next is line 356, fire training fee expenses. Is this required by union contract, or
We're not a union
then why is there an increase?
because it's costing, we cannot get the proper training out of the state of New Hampshire at the New Hampshire Fire Academy. So I'm forced to send people out of state to get training out of state.
Is this training that qualifies them for a higher ranking, or is this training to maintain their existing ranking?
It's a little of both, a little of both. A lot of it is, some of the stuff is required, that's required training that they have to have. Other, excuse me, other costs for that are just our employees continuing to develop into better employees. So going out and getting more training that's out there, the latest and greatest stuff and techniques and.
Okay, and next question is on and this is the last one, 352, fire equipment maintenance required testing. That's a really big increase. Is there some reason why the cost increase is only doubling?
Just the cost of the testing hose, ladders, pumps.
But you've been doing that all along. What's changed?
We've been doing it all along, but not yearly. It's required that we're doing it yearly, and we haven't been doing it yearly. We've been doing it skip a year or two, do it a year, skip or 2 year, do it a year. This is gonna enable us to be able to perform all the necessary required stuff that we're supposed to be doing every year.
And supposed to, is there some legal requirement, a statutory requirement?
And NFPA recommends that apparatus be tested.
A what?
NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, NFPA. That's like all codes and everything else like that.
That's God of fire.
So they recommend certain, when apparatus gets tested, when hose gets tested, when ladders get tested. For instance, we tested ladders last year, we tested ladders again this year, and we had, 1 or 2 of them fail. Well, we can't have someone on that ladder and have that fail, because now that's an injury. And if they come back and say, when was the last time your ladders are tested? And I say, well, 3 years ago, because we don't have the money to do it this year, because we had to do hose this year instead. That's, telling a lawyer, I don't have the money, and you gotta tell some family that, I don't wanna be that guy. So, I'm not doing anything above and beyond what we are supposed to be doing, let that be clear. I'm trying to do and maintain a standard of what is expected of me to keep the people safe and to keep my equipment safe and in service.
I just got a quick question on the CIP, on the ventilators.
Yes.
Taking 50,000 out of the ambulance fund.
Yep.
I don't see the ambulance fund spending chart here, but was that a planned expense, and does it interfere with any future ambulances or anything like that?
No, it's a low enough amount that it's not gonna interfere with anything that we have in the future.
Okay.
What are the annual maintenance costs for the ventilators? I thought I saw a line item about there's now like Lucas maintenance costs.
Yep, actually, the $50,000 includes a 5-year contract for maintenance, because I'm hoping that in 5 years, I could build, well, maybe me, maybe not me, build that into the budget, you know, so that we can ask that later on down the road, but for the first 5 years, we're gonna be protected by that. I wanna say, I could get you the exact figure, I wanna say they're about $2,500 a year. But I can get you the exact figure if you'd like.
Each time you use one, or you have them to use, like person-specific, I don't know, what is it correct? Like, something that would be thrown away afterwards?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and those are what they call circuits. And you use one circuit on a patient, it's all sterile. And once you use that, that ends up at the hospital with the patient. And then we have to buy that. Again, the hospital does not supply that to us. So, and I wanna say, again, don't quote me, I think the circuits are around maybe $40 for a circuit.
And then does that get covered by ambulance billing later, or?
Some of it may get, because the ventilator was used, yes, so some of it would be covered by that.
Carrie, did you have your hand up over there? No? No?
Same question I asked the police chief, is, you have to live with a default budget again this year, multiple years. What are the biggest impacts, or the biggest impacts you're going to face?
I think, anything that has to do with life cycle management. One big thing is our radios. We had ARPA money, and we had planned on, that was supposed to take care of that problem, and that got, at the last minute, that got taken away. Our radios that we have in our vehicles are so past their lifespan that if something happens to them, even minimal, it's catastrophic, because they stopped making parts 10 years ago. They stopped making parts 10 years ago for the radios that we have. So we're on borrowed time with that. But life cycle management on for our gear, our meters, for our hazmat meters, you know, that kind of stuff. And really, I think you said default, you know, vehicle maintenance. Our vehicle maintenance budget is crazy. It's just nuts. We had, for instance, and Jason at Highway has been fantastic. I'll throw the kudos out to those guys. I mean, they try to keep our stuff on the road and do an excellent job. But we had a muffler go on the tanker. The muffler's $4,000, $4,000 for a muffler. If I take $4,000 out of that, I mean, I gotta really determine what I'm putting tires on. And what am I gonna, you know? So it's just, and that was just that rate. Engine 5 needed a muffler too. That one, I think they got away with, I think, $800 or something for that one. But it's like the cost of everything has gone up, and if we keep going default, it's not, there's not an economist in the world that's gonna tell you that what you can save today and buy something next year is gonna be cheaper. It's not, you know? And the prices keep going up, and this is stuff that we have to do. I mean, I'm not buying shiny wheel covers for anything, or tinted windows with fuzzy dice. This is literally stuff to keep vehicles on the road that we need the maintenance plan for to do. So to answer your question, anything to do with life cycle gear, because again, like the police chief said, and we said, and you guys, I'm sure, have heard it repeatedly, you get off that life cycle.
Yeah.
And that throws, like, for me, you guys have asked me, the selectmen have asked me, and to put everything, to get stuff on a life cycle. We've done that. So now we need the money to do that, to continue that. And if we don't do that, then I go back and I take all this and throw it in my trash can, and here I go again, starting all over again, trying to figure out what am I not going to do this year and spend money on. So I could get something done that absolutely means that we're at a catastrophic, we're at a critical level to get done. And that's just, I mean, after a while, it's just taxing.
That includes, like, you were just talking about, the testing of the ladders and the hoses and that's the same thing?
That's exactly the same thing, and I'll tell you, we've tested, in the next budget coming up is forestry, I'm asking for $4,000, there's never been $4,000 in there, and I've asked for that. And the reason is that we test hose, we test ladders, when the hose breaks, when the hose blows, it goes out of service, I don't have any money to buy anymore. Because that money is being used to fix something else or to do something else within the department that's priority over having a couple extra rolls of hose on the bench or on the table. And forestry hose is a classic example. I don't know how many lengths of forestry hose we have lost. The stuff that's there is like from '97. I mean, the stuff is so out of date. We go to a forest fire, it's like soaker hose you put around your garden. And they don't test that. They don't test the hose company that comes in, they don't test forestry hose. So if we go out and it blows, it just blows and we take it out of service. But I have not spent $0 to buy forestry hose because there's never any money in the budget for forestry to buy hose with. So that's the next page that we're gonna end up going over is the forestry stuff, but, and that's why I asked for that. There is some grants that we're going to apply for, and probably pretty good chance that we'll get, because they're through the state. And if we put out like $2,000, the state matches us $2,000. It's a simple grant that we do for forestry stuff, and that's great because that's gonna help us buy what we need for hose and replace appliances and stuff.
Basically, you've got, if you get a proposed budget, you have a planned replacement and maintenance program in place that has some logic to it. If you don't get it, you're like the Dutch boy sticking fingers in the dike.
Exactly, 100%.
Chief, with regards to the building maintenance, on line 328, now with the doors, you mentioned the residential grade. When they're replaced and upgraded, are they being upgraded with commercial?
Yes, that's why they're like $4,000 a piece for the garage door opener.
Got it. Okay, so then at that point, does it reduce the turnover and upgrades? And do you have what that kind of churn rate is from the transition from upgrading those materials to be able to determine what the life cycle maintenance is on those other bays?
Yeah, I don't have what the life cycle would be on a garage door opener. I mean, we've had ones brand new, and I've had a call because they've had strip gears and stuff, and you know, I recently had them come out, and the garage door company came out because the doors just from going up, going down. Again, here we go. Again, I'm all about that ounce of prevention, it's a pound of cure. Everyone's always heard that. And like, we don't have really, we should have someone be coming out and taking a look at the garage doors at least once a year, right? And yeah, that may cost $300 to have someone come in and take a look at the garage doors and and on all of them. But I just spent like $500 because the ambulance bay door was tucked sideways like this just from use. Everything was just worn out on it. And I had it, you know, someone had to come out and replace pieces of that and everything else like that. So it's just a lot of money. And I'm not saying that something can't break after you have maintenance done on it, right? But the chances, or at least maybe there's some forecasting that they could tell you like, hey, you know, this is looking pretty weak, you know, you might want to think about replacing it. And that way there, at least it throws up kind of a red flag that we could, you know, identify that problem and, you know, possibly take care of it before something catastrophic happens with it.
Yeah, because I'm thinking if there's a residential anticipated use on something that's really on the level of commercial, and then you get a call and the door won't open.
We can, again, just similar to your garage doors, we have the emergency releases too. Only it takes two of us with pipe poles because the doors are so high to get them up. And so we could get out. But again, it's just that maintenance aspect of it. It's just, it's not there. There hasn't been anything in place, and I'm trying to get stuff in place slowly. Again, I wanted more money than this. Beth said no. Thanks, Beth. And, so I cut that back, but really it's, again, we're not building Taj Mahal. I'm just trying to maintain the stuff that you guys own, that the taxpayers own, and trying to update that just like you would update stuff in your own homes when it dies.
One more comment about CIP. The cistern, I'm sure we'll get into it next year. When Chief said that he thinks it's unfair to ask the school to supply that water, I think it's unfair to ask the taxpayers to duplicate efforts and have two cisterns that, when we're talking about like not using it very often, maybe we could pay the school a small amount each time we use it rather than putting in an entire $100,000 one and maintaining a separate cistern if we're not gonna be using it very often.
2027.
Right,
Hold that
yes.
thought till 2027.
Maybe some creative thinking around the issue rather than duplicating
Also
effort.
check with the surrounding towns and see how that's worked for them, and why they have their cisterns at their firehouses as opposed to doing what we're doing with
Well,
the
I can answer one question for that. So we had, take the fire on B&B Lane, all right? I mean, we had that pump site, we were working at the end of the road. But we also had the cistern on Gould Road. It's a 30,000 gallon cistern. That cistern got emptied in a matter of minutes. That was emptied, okay? If we rely on the school, right, and we go over to the school and suck out their 30,000 gallon cistern, their pump is there to come on and fill that. I'm not saying that pump is going to fill that cistern in a matter of 10 or 15 minutes, right? That could take 2 days or whatever. The school relies on that cistern because they have a fire pump for the school. So I wouldn't want to be the one sucking the water out, and then if there's an issue with the school, and now the sprinkler system goes off at the school, and there's no water in the cistern
Right.
to take out.
If I may, I thought the issue was clean water from the school's clean water to your holding tank for your clean water needs. If there's a fire at your place, wouldn't you go to one of the pumps, not pumps, those
The ponds.
the ponds, and then like Moody Pond has a pipe
Correct.
there, and
Yep.
you could get all the water you needed out of that. right?
Absolutely, in the like I said, in the summertime, fall, that's great. In the wintertime, at 2 in the morning, when I need to fill a truck, or when the crews need to fill a truck, they literally have to get into ice suits, go out, cut a hole in the ice, which is extremely dangerous in the middle of the night.
I thought there's a hydrant there, a dry hydrant.
If you, because you're sucking water out of the lake, there is, if you suck water out of the lake, you have to go out on the lake and you have to cut a hole in the top. You have to have atmospheric pressure. The ice will not allow you to, because the ice is on the lake, it's like a vacuum. You will not be able to pull any water out. You have to physically cut a hole in the ice to
It's basic science.
allow to draft out of that pond.
Let's break off this topic for now, because
Right, it's 2027.
people here, they need to go, and it's getting,
Yeah.
time's moving.
Anything else, any other questions? If anyone does, just either call me, stop by. I'm on vacation the rest of this week. I won't be around.
And just a final comment, we did review the fire department's long-term needs, 27 out to 35, in terms of getting an understanding. We didn't include it in the presentation. It doesn't impact this budget, but he has discussed with us long-term
Want to skip
rotation.
over code and just go to the forest fire? You guys have any questions, or we're gonna go right to the forest fire?
Sounds good.
So there's just a,
392.
there was some removal of the stipends for the, because I don't get a stipend for the being the warden. So with that, again, the line was,
Excuse me, guys, what, we can't have sidebars. Let's, hold on, Chief is talking. Yeah.
so basically the increase to the, between the offset and what I asked for $4,000 is $71 for the forest fire line. And again, the $4,000 is to replace hose, fittings, nozzles, stuff that there hasn't been any money in that, or budgeted any money in that for years.
Will that continue to be in the budget?
I hope so. It might not be that 4,000, it may be able to be reduced after we get a hold on stuff. It might be able to go down to like $2,000 a year, because if the state continues to do the grant, and that's 2,000, and I give 2,000, they give us 2,000, there's my 4 that I could spend on stuff, so. But we just have to kind of get a foothold and start replacing some stuff, because we haven't.
Right, yeah.
Are the vehicles for forestry solid, or are we looking at having to replace one
No,
of those?
vehicles are super solid for that. Yep. Questions,
Any other
comments,
questions on
concerns?
that? No? Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Have a good night.
Holiday.
Okay, there was just one item that he reminded me of. When you're looking at the budget and you look at what they expensed in 2025, it looks like they didn't spend any money in 2025 because we were so tough on them because of our bottom line. We told them you can't spend. So that is why if you look in forest fires, he only spent $83. But he's asking for $7,800 because we told him he can't spend. It's not because he doesn't need it, it's because we... And it's true with all the department heads. They worked very well this year, trying to keep within their budgets. Thank you, Chief. We're gonna go back to code enforcement, in between fire and forest fire. Forest fire, code enforcement, I'm sorry, we're seeing a reduction of $6,189. Most of that reduction is by telephone, and we are doing away with the current computer software that is in that department. The Board of Selectmen are proposing maybe a different software next year, but the software that we have budgeted is not going to be used. And then we increased the vehicle maintenance for the code enforcement truck. Any questions on code enforcement? It went down. Okay, now we're gonna get to Department of Public Works. The Highway Department, drum roll, his actually proposed budget is $43,240 less than the default. Most of that is due to the fuel. Our fuel is based on the 2023 default budget. The Board of Selectmen reviewed the price per gallon and reduced that. The number of gallons hasn't changed, but the price per gallon has.
It was like $4 then, or something like
Yeah,
that?
one of them was $6.
6?
Yeah, back in '22. Yep. So his increases are just the proposed on-call. I mean, his budget is, his software support.
Could I ask a question about that 432 line, vehicle fuel?
Yes, you may.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're spending roughly 75,000 so far this year, and the budget was 212.
Correct.
How much did they allow per gallon, since you said the gallon is the same?
Yeah, I want to say diesel was $6 back in 2022, and unleaded was $5. And now it's reduced to $3.10 per gallon for unleaded and $3.40 for diesel.
So if we get a default budget, you still have 212,000.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions for Jason on highway? Okay. Street lighting, that was just a small increase of $600 based on usage. Transfer station, there was another large increase in our operating budget entirely within the transfer station budget. It's the Wheelabrator. There's our tipping fees for our municipal trash We're seeing an increase of yes, $855. Again, that's based on the 2023 default number of 191,000. We need 242.
What is the fee again? What is that fee?
Jason, you want to get into that?
For taking the trash to Wheeler.
So that's the cost of getting rid of municipal trash. So we have a agreement with this company that we get rid of trash through, and it's going up $5 per ton per year for the next couple of years till they sign a new agreement.
Which is pretty reasonable.
I thought the Wheelabrator was the machine that we had that moves the,
No.
that's different.
Do
No,
we have more
Wheelabrator's
trash
out of
too, or
town.
is it just the rate going up?
Oh, Wheelabrator is the
Do we have
company.
more trash too, or is
We're,
it just the rate?
we're right around 2,500
That's the
tons
service.
a year.
Okay.
$5 is a cheap,
No, I get it. I was thinking the wrong thing. So,
okay.
now I understand.
Is there any competition? In other words, is there some alternative to Wheelabrator that would be less expensive?
There is some local competition, not anything that's any cheaper.
Thank you.
Hey, just interject back on the highway budget. Last year you had, in the proposed budget, which you didn't get, you had some computer type stuff or something that would help you manage maintenance.
Software support.
Software, is that's in there again? Is that-
Yep.
Is that what that is?
Yep.
That line item, okay. Still in there, okay.
No?
Yeah, good. No.
Again, on highway, why is the bonus being increased 3,000 per person?
Because that's what we're,
This is on line 409.
yep, that's what we're proposing for the highway department bonus.
But why?
Because I feel it's deserving. If you want to be tied down to the town of Ware for 5 months out of the year, I think they deserve to have a little bonus and be recognized for it.
Jason?
So wait, what is the bonus now?
$300.
And you're changing it from 300 to 3,000?
That's what's proposed.
You just
Okay,
explain
and-
that's for plowing, Jason, and they can't read
The next- Another question on CDL licensing. The board put in a program of $5,500.
Yep.
Is that to pay for the CD licensing of people who would be truck drivers but aren't CDL licensed?
That's to get one person a license per year if we find the right candidate.
Thank you.
Tom?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but the surrounding towns do have a bonus program for all their, I'll call them wintertime workers.
A lot of them have bonus programs for that. A lot of them have guys that are on call all year round that they trade off. In the town of Ware, all 15 of our guys are tied down for those 5 months of winter. They need to be available. That's what this bonus is for.
Does the bonus come in after the season or the beginning?
So the way we have it proposed is half up front, half at the end when you stick through.
Okay.
And you're proposing the same bonus for the transfer station guys?
Yeah, so when if they get called in, I keep track of the storms. So whatever their bonus would be however many times they came in, versus how many storms there were. So we just get that percentage and work it out for those guys. Sometimes they don't
You do it
get,
the same way of like half?
no,
Okay.
no, sometimes they won't get called in during snowstorms. Sometimes they do.
Okay. And so then the rest of that line item that doesn't get used up. So you're banking, I guess you're budgeting for 3,000 each
Yes,
for that one?
yeah, in case. Same thing with salt, we budget for 3,000 tons. I mean, we can only budget for the worst case scenario.
Does every employee get this bonus?
All the full-timers.
Did the current bonus program not work? You're increasing it, right? There was a lower amount for on-call bonus.
It's been $300 for the last 20 years.
Yeah. So it's been, okay, it's been that long. And not effective. You're having trouble getting people to be available.
I mean, that's less than $2 a day for somebody to get up from the Thanksgiving dinner table. I've got phone calls before when Benji was the DPW director, Christmas morning, in the middle of opening presents, let's go.
I understand. But I was
mean,
asking, you have trouble filling seats for plowing.
We're a full staff, but I think they need to be recognized for it.
Okay, I'm just trying to find the,
Keep them full staff.
yeah, trying to find where the shade is there. But
Yeah,
just
because
trying to understand.
the towns surrounding us are extremely competitive, and histories for towns have been that they used to have subsidized their highway departments, particularly in winter, with local people that would plow for routes. That's not happening anymore. You're not seeing, for lack of a better word, Jack Dearborn getting out in his truck and helping the town, or you doing that. That's not happening anymore, so now they have to go more, what I would say, professional. And the competition for that is much higher, and that's where the bonuses are coming in.
Jason, do you have an idea of what your retention rate has been over the past, like 3 years, or perhaps turnover, rather?
In 2022, we were full staff. That dropped down to about 7 full-timers, including me, in 2023. And then we've worked our way back up to full staff as of right now.
Got it. And so, if I'm reading this correctly, for the cost of the bonus, would this be an annual, I mean, bonuses are, never really permanent, but is the anticipation to make this, you mentioned 300, to make this permanent as like a baseline going forward? Just thinking about relative to like the cost of replacement of a position, that would be perhaps 2 times the cost of a bonus, so if we're measuring.
So it's one half 1 year, one half in the other. So the way plow season works, we're on call starting in November, and then we're off call April the next year. So half of that money would get spent in November. We're paying the half up front, and then in April the next year, they'd get the other half. So that's why we need the 3,000. It's gonna be spent in 1 year, but 2 seasons. So I suppose there could be the potential if somebody quit in the middle of winter, but realistically, if they stick around for April, they get the bonus, and they quit in the middle of summer, whatever, we're gonna hopefully have a new employee for that next November.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? We go to the CIP for Jason?
Still got sewer and water if you have any questions.
Okay, those are under you. Yeah,
You all good on transfer station?
I think so.
sewer,
Questions on sewer while you're there?
So you do water and transfer, right?
sewer and water left for the budget.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Any questions on sewer and water?
No, it doesn't affect me.
Okay, good to go to CIP for, okay.
All right, if you jump to slide 17, we're going to talk about 3 items. The first is a new 10-wheel plow truck. This is a replacing of an existing 2008 Volvo. If you actually also flip to page 19, we asked Jason to do similar to what the police department does. So 19, 20, and 21. That is his, taking a look at his whole fleet and the projection of replacement if we were to replace one per year. I also want to draw your attention to a couple other slides, well, before we talk fully about the cost of the truck. Slide 22 gives you a little bit of information on vehicle hours. We've highlighted the truck for replacement in terms of hours and miles. And then slide 23, I think would be helpful for you to take a quick look at the replacement cycle that we've had for DPW, including in recent years, 2021, 2025, no trucks purchased. So again, looking at the rotation that's needed and whether or not that has been maintained. So similar to the police department, it is scheduled to have replace the existing 2008 Volvo 10-wheeler, and I believe that truck, currently they have 10 trucks that are functional. They have one truck that is not functional. It's being used for parts. So essentially, they have 11 drivers to drive 11 trucks, but only currently have 10 functioning trucks. You do have 11 now? Okay.
How do we get 11? What happened? Because we were down a truck, I mean, it was scavengered for parts.
That's what I, yeah,
So
that's
where
what I
did
had in my
where did
records,
we
that we
come up
had
with the
10
other one?
trucks and one was being used for parts. I have it wrong, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine, it's fine. There was some confusion before. So last year, we were going to trade in a six-wheeler. And as it worked out, the 10-wheeler that we have in pieces, I couldn't see trading in a truck that we had in service on the road at the moment, getting rid of that one and keeping one that's in pieces. So the highway department replaced that truck. So now we have a full complement of trucks, full complement of people. So there's no, not supposed to be any disturbance in service as long as the trucks are running. All the trucks stay running. So that's how we're ending up back at a full complement of trucks, full staff.
But going on that premise, you have an idea of how many 10-wheelers you want and six-wheelers. So you've replaced it with a six-wheeler, correct?
No, 10-wheeler.
10-wheeler. We still want another 10-wheeler, correct?
We're not getting away from 10-wheelers.
Okay. So we do want a new truck.
All 10-wheelers.
And if you look, again, if you go to slide 19, those slides, you'll see the replacement cycle that he's projected. And page 18 just gives you an example, if this is still an example of what the condition of the truck that he's looking to replace currently looks like. Right. And really trying to maximize personnel downtime. So again, if you jump over to slide number 24, like we did with the police department, we asked Jason to provide us some information on maintenance and repair costs to date, and we went back and took a look over the past year. So again, as you start to look at the years that replacement trucks were not approved and we're playing catch-up, we're also spending a large amount of money on repair cost. And these numbers are through September, so those will go up by the end of the year.
So you're still wanting to replace T4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, nothing's changing as far as what truck we're replacing. It's just that truck from last year replaced T10. So T10 is new.
And so as far as the budget goes, they're requesting $280,000. They will have $20,000 coming out of their capital reserve fund. So they'll actually will be requesting tax impact 260,000 for that truck.
And also one other thing is I see, the 10-wheeler and the transfer station scale are as necessary as far as, the priority. I presented them to, the Board of Selectmen as urgent. I think there was just a little miscommunication there.
So all three are urgent?
All three are urgent, yes.
Neil, you have a question?
Yeah, on slide 24, it looks as though in 20, 21, 22, you had the quote, normal, unquote, expenditures. What happened in 23 and 25?
So I'll start off by saying in no way, shape, or form is this me tooting my own horn. 2020, 21, 22, there's a full-time mechanic,
You.
yes. 23, 24, we did not have full-time mechanic.
So you were sending things
We're
out?
sending a lot of things out, and 25, we've been playing a lot of catch-up, and we had a few major breakdowns. So that's what you're seeing, some of those increased costs.
So not a lot of this was spent on the truck that we're replacing, or was it?
A lot of this, there was quite a bit of money, I believe in 2023, spent on that truck.
Could you give a
2024.
ballpark?
15,000. We had to replace the emission system, that was 8,000 just for the part.
But you haven't spent anything on that truck in 24, 25? Nothing
Oh.
significant?
We've probably spent $10,000 in steel just for the body to get it patched through.
So if we really wanted to save money, we'd return you to being a full-time mechanic?
No. No.
So you don't have a mechanic, you're fully staffed, but you don't have somebody?
We do have a mechanic now. Like I said, 2025, he's been
Okay.
right out
Yeah,
straight,
'cause you
trying
had
to
difficulty hiring.
do some catch-up,
Nobody
yeah.
wanted to work for,
Yep.
yeah.
So with the full-time mechanic, in 2025, we spent twice as much as we did, not quite, but almost, certainly twice as much as we did in 21.
Like I said, we had some significant breakdowns this year. We had about 30,000 on one truck, and
Independent of the mechanic.
yeah, that's just parts.
Parts and stuff.
Yeah, and then 25,000 on the backhoe. So that's, $50,000 right there. So
I think it's important too, if you turn to slide 23. I mean, again, I point out, as we talked with Jason, the years that trucks weren't purchased in those rotations. So now we have trucks that are older than what you might normally have had. So even though T4 is being slated for replacement, and again, we always leave it up to these guys when it comes time, if they have a critical or fatal malfunction in another truck, they may have to change those decisions. But, and I do think it's important, his employees, the police department, they spend a lot of time in these vehicles, and it's important that our employees feel safe and like they have a vehicle they can depend on. So I do think, as we talked to him and talked about staff morale and those types of things, the importance of trying to get on a rotation cycle, dependable vehicles, reducing the cost of maintenance, and trying to get the town on a cycle that we're not skipping multiple years, and then we find ourselves with high repair costs.
Go ahead, Lori.
Jason, we have a picture of the truck replacement candidate. Now, I've been down to the highway garage, and you have walked between the fleet to show me the wear and tear on the trucks. Could you talk to us a little bit about how these trucks look? It's not just this truck. They all look like people have been chewing on them, for lack of a better word.
yeah, this particular truck's coming up on 20 years, and its main goal has been to push snow off the road, and that means hauling salt, spreading salt. obviously you guys are from New Hampshire, you know what salt does to vehicles. And, you know, no matter how much washing gets done to one of these trucks after 20 years, it's gonna show.
Even in 5.
Yeah, yep.
Do these get undercoated?
They get oiled,
Or-
yep.
But you're doing a lot of welding to these trucks.
This one in particular, we've done more than most this year, last year. There's been 2 years ago, one of the side dump pistons, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the way the bodies work on our trucks. Actually, one half of the body comes up and feeds salt out onto the chain because it sits on the driver's side. So there's 2 pistons that end up lifting that part of the body. This body was so rotted that one of the pistons actually punched through. So it was down without a side dump last year for quite a while. So that means returning back to the shop to reload because you can only get half of your load out. And then a year before that, the same thing happened to the other piston on the body. So this one's about done.
And your new trucks are coming through with a different type of steel.
Yes, they're all hard ox bodies. They're a little bit more corrosion resistant. A little bit it's hardened steel, so hauling dirt with them and stuff like that, it wears on it less.
What is the plan for getting in front of the CIP so we don't have to try raising taxes to be able to fund for the vehicle replacements?
When you say getting in front of CIP,
So
meaning-
we actually have the money to spend instead of requesting the taxpayers
You need a
to,
capital reserve fund.
right, so
and
what's
that's
the
up to Board of
plan?
Selectmen.
Yeah, that's not,
Okay,
I mean, our goal for CIP is to make sure we educate you, the selectmen, on what the rotation plan is, what the history of the vehicles are, what the maintenance costs are, and really looking at the importance of being on a replacement cycle, especially when you have a fleet this size. To go a couple of years back to back without replacing a truck, then it just puts you in a tough position.
When you want a vehicle every year, it's hard to save multiple years with vehicles. When you want to replace one vehicle per year, every year, say a police cruiser or a truck,
Right.
how do you save money up until it's time? Because you're gonna expend that money every year, because you wanna buy a vehicle every year.
right,
So it's not like, I've worked in smaller communities where they do have a great CIP program, they only have 4 trucks, so they can save 3 years in a row at a lower amount and then have the money to expend. But when you want a truck every year, a police cruiser every year,
yeah.
that
We gotta-
fund's gonna get depleted every year.
We gotta figure that out,
And-
so,
And furthermore, many people have come up to this podium to many boards of selectmen and probably finance committees. It's not the most popular thing in the town of Ware to save money for whatever reason.
Correct.
I might die before I see it. So,
I mean, yeah.
in respect to previous boards and this one, it's not always the most popular.
But you're right, in a smaller town, when they have residents that are able to augment to their plowing system, they are able to do a capital reserve fund. When you're dependent, as we are, on a full department, and,
This one this big where there's 11 vehicles to replace,
right, and this is a question for Jason, and I'm
big
sure
vehicles to replace.
you'll chip in on this. We're running 10-wheelers, but you cannot take this amount of vehicles and decrease them by 2 and say this is gonna to handle the whole town. You cannot reduce the number of vehicles and say now you're gonna increase the length of your trip. It doesn't work that way. You're gonna have a lot of cranky residents. It's a
Going in the
lot of
opposite direction anyways, yeah.
power on the trucks.
Right.
To-
gonna have worn out plow operators too.
Right.
You can't work these guys. with 10 trucks.
So it's just a visual for you guys to try to get you to understand how many trucks, where they are, how many miles they're actually plowing.
Thanks.
River Road's kind of an oddity, obviously. It's one of the longer roads in town, but you can see that this gentleman who plows in T2 he starts almost up here in Concord, you know, and he's going all the way down to Goffstown, New Boston, plowing River Road. And he's plowing roads off the side here, up until Colby, and then he's coming back all the way down River Road.
That's a long route.
You got this gentleman who shares the side road, River Road with him, who helps him out a little bit, but he's also got this whole route here. You got a gentleman down here on the south side of town, got somebody here, kinda south, south. This guy up on the mountain, he's all alone. I mean, you're coming from Railroad, you're refilling, you're coming all the way over here to Cram Road to start your sand run. He's gonna come back after he does his salt and sand for his tar roads. I mean, he's got 45 minutes before he's back on the Cram Road. So reducing this fleet is impossible.
Also, isn't it that we have one of the largest amounts of dirt roads for any town in New Hampshire? And that takes a lot of wear and tear on the trucks?
We have quite a bit. We got about 30 miles. And the master plan in 2019 was 97 miles. We've accepted 2 more roads just in the last 2 weeks, so we're not,
Why do we keep doing that?
that's up to kinda other people other than me, planning board and stuff like that, so. We are not getting any smaller when it comes to the highway department.
I want to go back to this question about funding. Jason, you had looked at potential grants. Have you
Yep.
heard anything yet?
We are not getting those.
Okay. So I want to commend Jason that every year he is trying to go for various grants. In some cases, that would pay close to the entirety of a truck. But there again, we're at the mercy of whether we get accepted or not, so.
To go back to Carrie's point, if these trucks have, what, a 15-year life, an 18-year life?
We'd like to be on an 11-year rotation.
Oh. But
Again,
if you were willing to go to a 15 or 17-year rotation, then we could do something with an annual capital reserve amount, because you wouldn't be buying a truck every year.
If that was the way it would go, yes, but as of right now, we're not planning on that.
But I think it's,
Value on a truck, that's the way it is.
and again, going back to Jason put some information on slide 22. You know, again, you look at this particular truck, hours and mileage. I mean, that's the challenge if you start extending beyond 11-year cycle on a truck, your maintenance costs are gonna go up because your mileage and your hours on the trucks are gonna be a lot higher.
As far as the 11-year rotation, you get a truck at the end of that has some sort of trade-in value. When you keep them for 20 years, you're getting a couple $1,000s for them, and
And the maintenance keeps going up. every year.
maintenance keeps going up, yeah,
You're
so.
paying for a new truck, you just don't get it.
Yeah, and that's always been the point of the highway department. You know, before my time, the maintenance budget was dropped down because we started getting newer trucks. So if we can keep on a steady rotation, we can keep that maintenance schedule right on cue where it needs to be.
Have we looked at financing a truck? The police or the fire chief, when he had just a little bit left to go on the new fire truck, he was going to finance the remainder. If we financed a new truck, would that help save and actually offset the repair costs enough that it would actually save us?
I think you'd just be paying interest.
Right, but interest or repairs on a,
But if you do that every year.
right,
Just-
until we
just
get ahead of it.
5 years or 3 years.
You're never gonna get ahead of it.
Never getting ahead, you just
No.
spend the same amount of money. You just may defer a little bit for 1 year and a little bit for the next, after that, it's all the same.
What are
thing.
you gonna save on maintenance if you buy a new truck?
Well, we're not gonna be spending $160,000 a year.
Right.
Right, so that would offset, that would save on the interest, right? So that would bring us ahead.
I mean, I think that the challenge, I mean, as we talked about this in CIP, and again, as you're leasing or financing, you still have some responsibility for the repairs of trucks as they age. As Jack just said, you've got interest that you're paying,
Right.
higher lease payments, you don't have a trade-in value. And now if you're doing one every year, you're just building that amount of money. And it doesn't guarantee that you're not going to have something malfunction in a truck. So again, I think we're just looking at not adding additional costs by adding lease fees and those types of things. And again, I think that the goal, as we talked about it in CIP, is if you can get on that maintenance and not skip the years, that's when I think you can see that maintenance cost start to come down, because when you're repairing trucks that are eaten away like these are, that are 15+ years old, that's where you start to see your maintenance costs go up.
On page 24, there's a footnote for estimated 50,000 to replace the gun body on T4. Is that the parts anticipated cost of 50,000?
So that's the cost of a new body. If this truck doesn't get traded in, we're gonna have to figure out something to do with that truck, or it's gonna be useless to us during the winter.
So is it then projected to be, 215,000?
No, the regular budget is 85,000 for maintenance.
I got you, okay.
The 280,
So I'm
That
trying to
includes the
understand
body.
increase for the end of the year for 2025,
So-
where it says through 9/30, the 165,000.
Yep.
Over the 50,000, is that an additional 50,000, or is that already included in?
this here.
Yeah, so 165 is what we've spent this year on maintenance. Now, the $50,000 number there is a cost of a new body for a truck. If we don't get this truck traded in this year, I'm not saying that we're gonna spend $50,000 on a body for this truck, because it's not worth it. But this is how much it would cost us to get a new body for that truck, because if it makes it through this winter, it'll be a miracle. If we don't get it traded in and we have to then use it again next winter, there's gonna be some real miracles that are gonna have to happen to get that truck through again.
Got it. So to your point earlier then, with regards to maintenance and repairs that hasn't even happened yet, that's then assuming a number in excess of the 165 that we have noted here, but then also if this fails with the purchase of a new truck, then there's just baseline and additional 50 grand to just replace the body of this truck on T4. Am I understanding that?
So the baseline next year for the budget for maintenance is 85,000.
Okay.
Okay, so whatever repairs we have to do for that truck is gonna have to come out of that budget. The 165 is this year, that's what we spent. Vote, we're not gonna know until next year when the vote comes.
I got you, okay, thank you.
If the vote is positive on the truck, when do you think it would actually be in operation?
They were getting better. We got the last one, we had a couple storms left, so, it's about a year.
So what are you going to do between now and that year?
What we have always done, and that's duct tape and bubble gum.
If you know you're getting a truck, you're not gonna put the 50.
If I know we're getting a truck, I'm not gonna try to do anything with it, you know what I mean? If we aren't gonna get a truck, we're gonna have to do something.
Yeah,
So-
understand.
What you could do is just have 10 routes.
No.
No.
Well, then so you have to use one of the 10 trucks for the 11th route.
No.
The T4 craps out.
If the T4 is not functional,
they'll have to get spread out somewhat, but you're not gonna,
I mean, each route will be one in a will be.
it won't be each route. You're gonna have to pick probably
Couple of them.
2 guys to split the load.
Yeah.
And you probably do that to some extent now when a truck goes down.
If it happens, yeah.
Yeah, occasionally, yeah.
That's where that $3,000 bonus comes in?
Yeah, it increases everything, fuel costs, overtime.
The problem. Well, I think the bonuses are being ready.
Any other questions on the truck? We'll move on to the other, don't go too far.
I won't.
So the next item is road construction. This is something that comes through each year. The request is $700,000. We received $284,000 from the state of New Hampshire, leaving us to raise by taxation $416,000. Again, I think in prior years, trying to level this out, it's similar to the trucks. You have so many roads you have to maintain, trying to do that at a steady pace, and trying to budget the same amount every year so that we can anticipate what is gonna cost the town year over year. And we just asked, Jason gave us an example, if you look on slide 25, of a road that was repaired throughout the year. So again, this is not the first time this amount is asked for. It is a steady cost year over year.
Well, it's gone up.
It has gone up a little bit, yes.
Right.
Yep.
There's a plan to keep going up. What's the top off
I think
number?
if you look
So
on,
as of right now, we're gonna try and cap it at 750 next year. I don't wanna take anything away from Denise's presentation at all, but I do have some
that's all right.
information that could probably be a little bit helpful, answer some questions. Can I have?
This one here? Right back. That back.
I have to remote into my computer.
I'm gonna stand.
Maybe a little. Do a little bit more clarification on 10-wheelers too, if you guys feel like taking a little bit of time. 6-wheelers, smaller body, smaller payload capacity. 10-wheelers, larger body, obviously a higher payload capacity. 6-wheelers, a little bit more comparison. 6-wheelers, we're having more time spent getting back to the yard for sand compared to the 10-wheelers. Fewer refill trips, more continuous road coverage on the 10-wheelers. More stable spreading due to the larger load, better suited for long duration storms, reduced wear on support equipment, loader. A little bit, couple key clarifications here. Even though a 10-wheeler can carry more material, it still follows the same routes, clears the same miles, responds to the same type of storms as a 6-wheel truck. The plowing requirements do not change, only the sanding productivity improves. Over the funding a little bit, we already did that. So roads, town's largest asset, support public safety, school bus routes, commerce, local business, residents, mobility and quality of life. As of right now, town's got about 97 miles of class 5 road, paved roads, gravel, dirt roads, drainage systems, culverts, guardrails, all that stuff is our duty to maintain. If you look at kind of the value of the road network, it far exceeds all the buildings, all the equipment that the town owns. It is the #1 capital asset in the town. Kind of just some basic stuff that we take care of throughout the year. Just regular maintenance, crack sealing, line striping, shouldering, culvert cleaning, ditching, gravel road grading, material replacement, brush cutting, snow plowing, salting. And then you have some of this capital costs, which are the big pavement overlays, reclamation, reconstruction, and some pavement preservation as well. This is about what it costs to maintain a road per mile per year. Gravel roads are a touch more expensive. These are typical averages used by public works departments across the state. Some more capital projects, this is about what they cost per mile. So that's kind of where we get to this number and why we're requesting it. Conservative estimate, $5,000 per mile. That kind of splits the gravel and the tar. 97 miles, so about $485,000 for regular maintenance a year. Then you get into the long-term resurface, one road every 20 years. That's where you're getting up to this average needed a year, $970,000. So you add these two together, realistically, the town of Ware should be coming in at this number annually. That $750 number, I know when Selectman Knapp did the road bond in 2019, $750 was this number. It's come up that much in price in, almost 8 years or so.
Asphalt's increased $30.
Asphalt's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
So this is where we should be, obviously, so we're not getting into those situations again. It's a big pill to swallow for everybody, I understand that. So what I'm trying to do is get us up to the number where we should have been in 2019. So that's why we're trying to get back there, as we don't have this road bond happen again. Again, a lot of towns, it happens a lot to everybody. Annual road budgets often cover 40 to 60%. So we're not the only ones in this problem, but it sure wouldn't hurt for us not to be here.
Is that 970,000, is that before you get the state grants, or?
No,
is that-
that's just an overall number.
So, okay, so that's not necessarily what would be needed, we would need to raise for 500.
Yeah. And we're not asking for that this year or, anywhere in the near future, right at the moment. I just want to reiterate to you guys how much money this stuff actually costs and what we're actually asking for.
That's a good breakdown, it helps.
Yeah, so, once you let these road bases go all the way, it's a big problem. That's why the highway department has really been on a preservation kind of kick, trying to keep the road bases good so we can keep the overlays going to save a little bit of cost. So like I said, when it comes to preservation, every dollar we spend right now the right way will save us money over time. And then that was just some funding that Denise went over. So I was hoping that would kind of clear up some stuff, answer some questions, kind of show you guys how we got to where we're at.
Jason, quick question on the 10-wheel plow truck. The cost is $280,000. How much is a 6-wheel truck, just for comparison?
Did you just get a 6-wheeler?
I don't believe in them either.
I don't know for sure, honestly. It's not much cheaper, yeah. I mean, you might be looking $210, $220 once it's all
So it's not like half the
outfitted.
cost?
No,
Okay.
no. I can get you a better number, but that's just me kind of
Nope,
ballparking.
I'm good with that. And then, quick question, you pointed out the gravel roads versus the paved roads. Would we save anything by paving more roads?
So at this point, until we catch up with all of our tar roads, it doesn't make sense for us to dump a bunch of money into that type of infrastructure, and
Maintaining what we have.
honestly, it's probably 75% of our dirt roads we could never pave.
Okay.
They'd be,
Double your density of your homeowner too.
yeah. They're single wide paths that would never, it wouldn't
On
work.
the land development part, you would double and triple your density if you wanted to go from gravel, because you had a 10-acre minimum on a gravel road. And you can go to 1.93 if you're in a residential area.
Okay.
Just on this one, Jason's point about the 750. Yeah, we wanna make sure this passes, okay, because people are gonna be having a lot of time on their hands on the DPW crew if this money doesn't pass, okay? I mean, basically, people will be sitting around with nothing to do. And the other issue is, even though we are bumping it to 750, probably the next 10 years, we probably need to have another $2 or $3 million, $4 million bond to catch up what we're not putting in each year. So we're falling behind a little bit slower. We're not catching up at all.
Yeah, a little bit to Jack's point there. You know, you can look at the highway department budget, you can see that there's signs in there. There's very minimal stuff as far as road maintenance goes. All of the road maintenance that we do kind of comes out of that line. We'll have plenty of vehicle fuel to, you know, drive around and ditch some gravel roads all year, but, you know, a majority of the asphalt won't get put down, roads won't be reclaimed.
Jason?
Mhm.
We just added 2 more roads to our repertoire. If we keep accepting roads, are we ever gonna catch up? Is there a point where we need to start thinking about how fast we do this and put the responsibility on the people building?
Yeah, so
We need to put
when,
in, you know, what most towns have, where the monkey gets put on the developer to pay for this stuff.
when we do get a new road, it's been base coated, top coated. Engineers have looked at it, it's all been approved. They're back on that 20-year cycle from the start. It will be something that we'll have to get to, obviously, in that 20 years. Again, as far as kind of an impact fee or
Yeah.
however they do that, that's not up to me at that point.
The point was made a few years ago is, we keep adding roads, we don't add plow routes. So these have to get divvied up amongst the other folks. And we haven't added a truck or a crew. So I don't know where the breaking point is. I mean, Duck Pond will be it, something will happen there pretty quick.
Yep.
And then there's something down in South Ware on River Road, resident area.
Yep.
That'll be another one that has to be plowed, so.
What's your rough mileage per plow?
It's about 8.5.
I started in 2001 and I added this up one time, and since I started, you said about 8.5 miles per plow route. We've added that many miles of road of new developments and haven't added an employee or a truck. Just
So, this is being stretched.
Which means we're gonna have to start thinking about that soon, because sooner or later, people are gonna start grumbling again, right?
Yeah, that's why I brought it before. I mean, it's not feasible to take a truck away or, you know, take a couple trucks away just because they're bigger capacity. They still have to plow the same miles, and often cases, as this year proves, we're gonna need to plow more. So,
Any other questions before we move on to the next one?
So the transfer station scales, so if you look on page 26, just to give you a little bit of background, bear with me here because I put my slides out of. Currently, the construction debris at the transfer station is estimated and charged by the yard. So truck comes in, measurements are taken, an estimate is made, the person is charged. They may debate that,
They will debate that.
not always in a friendly way. But when we take the debris to have it disposed of, we pay by the ton. So if you take a look at, on that page, you'll see, we went back to 2021, we looked at the total expenses against the revenues. And because one you're estimating and the other you're driving the truck up on a scale, getting weighed and then paying, it would behoove the town to look at purchasing a scale at the transfer station so that we're doing apples to apples, and we're not gonna have a year where we come up short, the expense is higher than the revenue. Again, from a employee standpoint, you know, sometimes the abuse they may take from somebody who doesn't agree with what's been estimated. We also talked to Jason. He's, in thinking about this, he's laid out a location for the scale, thinking about future expansion or rearranging of the traffic flow in the transfer station to be sure that the scale is placed in a location where it wouldn't have to be moved again. So it would be in a home that would take into consideration if some changes or configuration was made to that site. So after talking through this, we just, again, CIP felt like this is something that makes sense to really look at stabilizing revenue and costs going forward. Did I cover everything?
You nailed it.
Is there an expectation that there'd be some small amount of revenue coming off of this going forward, or is it a break-even proposition?
Are you gonna charge more? We didn't talk about that.
So, when it comes to the scale and the revolving fund, like Denise said, paid by the load. We'd like to get rid of these underbilling causes. And then reducing staff judgment calls, fewer customer disagreements, smooth out some traffic issues that we're having, and it's going to allow us to get some better numbers for our reporting compliance. One-time cost, periodic calibration, benefits, we're going to have immediate improvement on billing accuracy, long-term elimination of the structural shortfalls in the revolving fund, and then we're going to ensure that the revolving fund remains financially self-sufficient without taxpayer intervention. That goes along with your question, Tom, is it's realistically a net zero. We want to charge for as much as we're getting rid of. Now, that being said, we're going to charge a little bit more to cover the cost on the maintenance on this scale. This periodic calibration and certifications, stuff like that, that scale's going to pay for itself. And as far as the funding on the scale, it's going to come out of the transfer station special revenue fund, so there's no tax impact on this.
How much will you have left in that fund after?
We're going to have 30,000. There you are.
You guys are about 27, but
Yeah.
we're not at year end yet.
And about how much goes into that fund every year?
Half of it recycling.
50.
It flu-
50% of all the revenue.
No, right, but
It
about
fluctuates.
what is the,
It fluctuates with
It's really
prices.
different?
Yeah, yeah.
And what money goes into the fund?
Money from recycling
Only.
into that special revenue fund. Yep,
So every time you
50%.
recycle something and get paid for newspapers or whatever, that goes into the fund?
Not newspaper. It's all the cardboard,
Sticks.
steel, aluminum cans.
So when we do our paper dumping, that doesn't result in any money for the town?
Occasionally, that fluctuates quite a bit. So the reason why paper is separated out of the main hopper is because it's always cheaper to get rid of. Sometimes it's, I'm just gonna throw a number out, sometimes it's $10 a ton. Sometimes we can get rid of it for free, sometimes they pay us. But all that is better than $95 a ton in the hopper.
and are you, this I guess isn't really this, but maybe the selectmen, are y'all planning on putting a warrant article again this year to give 100% of that fund to the transfer station?
We haven't talked about that yet.
I'd like to see that, but.
I would too.
You wanna raise taxes, huh?
In one way or the other, however you do that, not to get into the weeds on it, but it raises the taxes here and lowers the taxes on the back end, or you can keep that. I mean, you pay for the hauling out of the taxes, or we apply, or we put a warrant article out for equipment, and we don't pay for the equipment because it comes out of the fund. So you're paying here, and you're gaining here, or you're gaining here and paying here.
I'll say, Neil, my reasoning on it is that the police already have a fund that they get everything for. Fire has a fund they get everything for. I think they should get what they're earning and
I
be able
think
to
the
use it how they
taxpayer
want.
should get a fund for what they're paying for.
You are on the back end when it comes to equipment for the transfer station.
But we never get a choice really if it's free.
You get a choice, you get to vote on it.
I understand that, but since there's no tax impact, the chances of it failing are zero. The question I have is about the rate you're going to charge per ton, Jason.
Yep.
I assume the scale itself has to be replaced at some point.
They have
10 years, 20 years, 50 years?
upwards of 20 plus years.
Shouldn't you include in your rate, each year, 1/20th of the cost of replacing that?
Exactly. Like, sorry if I wasn't clear on that.
Okay.
But the cost of that scale, however much we're gonna estimate we need to replace that, fix parts on it, whatever we need is gonna come out of there.
Not just the maintenance cost.
Yeah, so
Not just
The
maintenance.
future.
by definition, a revolving fund is supposed to be net zero, but it's promoting recycling, any money that's used to promote recycling. So by using that scale, we can pay for that maintenance out of that fund.
Yeah, but the point is, I think it's important to make sure that the amount you're charging per ton covers not just the maintenance
Yeah,
cost, but the
yep.
replacement cost.
Yep.
You gotta do 1/10 because 50% goes back to the taxpayer.
There we go. I like that too.
So everybody will use this. Everybody who drives up in their little pickup truck
Uh,
to dump a bunch of.
everybody's dumping demo,
Yep, any demo
right at
dump.
the moment, yep.
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 I think I'm overpaying for my demo dump, but you know. He just says, what about
I
10
guess you'll
bucks?
find out.
You just can't get it carted away,
We'll
right?
find out, right?
Not in the town where you're not, we're the cheapest around.
Okay, good.
Hillsborough just put a public notice out, they're going to $180 a ton,
Yeah.
so.
What will our cost be if they're at 180?
They'll come here.
They're about, yeah,
That's why.
that's,
They will, they'll go where it's cheaper.
yeah, that's about 9 cents a pound.
Driver's licenses.
So we're gonna be right around there. Right now, we're much cheaper than that, and it shows clearly.
Do we take do we take the stuff from other non-ware people, commercial, et cetera?
No, we're not supposed to.
But you don't know.
Well, we have the stickers, right, that are
Yeah, but trying to
required.
control it on a busy day.
supposedly.
You're not factoring in contractors that do a job in Hopkinton, live and wear, and then they come and bring their stuff to wear.
Yep.
They might have a town sticker, but that's not where that
Got it.
waste was generated.
Fair.
Yeah.
Everybody pays the same, there's no advantage.
Right.
Yeah.
With a scale.
If they're no, they're gonna have to hop on a scale, just like they do in other towns.
Like on the doctor.
Then they're gonna think about it. Or they come and say, I did a construction job for a homeowner and where. Yeah.
So I'm a contractor and I dump frequently. In fact, the place I was going burned down, so I had to go to the dump now. And I can tell you, without question, that the scale is the only fair way to do it. Because if I bring in a full 10 yards of styrofoam insulation, they're gonna charge me the same as if I brought in 10 yards of concrete blocks. But they've gotta pay by the pound or the ton when they get rid of it. So I get really nailed on the styrofoam,
and they get really nailed on the concrete blocks.
Right.
I think what you're saying too is if you put the scale in, you might cut down on the traffic.
Not only that, but
Only if the price is.
you'll eliminate the
well-
time that you have some guy out there going, well, it looks about like, and then the guy says, well, no, it's really only, and 15 minutes of dickering to figure out how much you're gonna pay. There's no question.
Yeah, if we're now losing money every year, that tells me that more people are coming in here and dumping because they're getting away with it.
Well,
We're just not adequately judging.
But Jason, you're planning on making our rates competitive, so to speak, with other towns, so there's no economic incentive for out-of-towners to try to dump their stuff and Ware, even with the scale.
Yeah, I know this was a big concern last year as far as the town making money on the scale. I still want us to be competitive, so we're not getting other towns' stuff, but in no way, shape, or form are we going to be profiting off of any residents in the town.
That sounds good.
Good to go?
Thank you.
So,
Think so. Nice, thank you.
I think I have, before the rates over, I have one more CFP.
Yeah,
we'll give
you
them a
can
picture of
haggle
that.
it with Beth if you want.
Go for it.
How do you wanna do it?
While the board of selectmen are still awake.
All right. If you go to page 27, we have one more item, and then I'll go through the final sheet. And I may have Naomi jump in if I don't get this 100% correct, but we're looking for a warrant article for a solar array on the safety complex. There's a grant, this is a grant-funded project. Originally, the town of Ware was denied this grant. However, another town who received the grant is not able to move forward with it, so they came back to Ware and asked if we were still interested. One of the things that Naomi wanted to do is to make sure it gets put on a warrant article, that the town still has the opportunity to vote on whether or not we want to accept that grant. Am I correct so far?
So far.
Yeah. So that's why we're looking to put this forth as a warrant article. Even though they've come back and awarded us or offered us this grant, we want to make sure the taxpayers have the opportunity to say yay or nay. It would not be, there would not be a tax impact. Also, if you look on slide 27, we tried to estimate what the power consumption was it currently is at the safety complex, what the electric bill has been in 2024, and approximately what we think that there would be a savings. I know earlier when we were talking about the shelter for the police cars and the increased costs of lighting and electric, so that this would be an opportunity to supplement the cost or reduce the cost of electric at that building if we accepted this grant. So I think that there was a look at a potential of 50% savings in the electric costs if we were to move forward with this particular project. Did I forget anything, Naomi? I'm not sure, right? So that's what this is really, is putting it forth to that. We've said to the grant folks, the town, we want to put the town of Ware in as a place marker, but we can't give them an official yay or nay until we go through the vote.
When you put solar panels on, what's the longevity and what does it cost to replace them?
I think we talked
And
about.
do we put the bill for it, or are they going to replace them?
I've had mine 14 years.
Okay.
I haven't lost any performance. They're usually good for 25, 30,
I was gonna
25,
say,
30, 40 years, and especially the new ones. And mine are an early version, and so if they last 25 years, the town of Ware has collected has saved $250,000. If you don't want to continue it,
Take them off.
don't replace them.
Yeah, so it would be our decision, they would not be, there's no funding to replace them, it would be our decision in the long term, whether or not we felt the savings that we had seen over the lifespan of 20 to 30 years was worth replacing those at that point in time.
During the 25-year life of these solar arrays, we might have to replace the roof on the,
Roof is 2019, and
20-year roof.
replaced in 2019.
is it, well, you must know this, Jack, if you have those, if you've had it for 15 years. Can you remove the panels and replace the roof and then put the panels back?
have to pay somebody to do it, but yeah.
They're basically mounted.
It adds to the cost, but it's doable.
You have to have a solar company come in and remove
Minimum.
them.
Yeah.
Roofers can't do
Yeah,
that.
because it's just the labor, you're not buying new equipment. But if you did that in 25 years, personally, I'd recommend
Just
putting
do
more
new ones.
efficient
Yeah.
Panels on.
They get more efficient every 5 years.
Because I bought mine at 250 watts per panel, these gonna be 420s. 2 watts per panel.
For the same size?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same form.
What's the decommissioning or disposal cost at end of life?
It's 25 years in the future, who knows?
9 cents a ton.
It's gonna be a lot more expensive
There's gonna be a
25
lot
years in the
of-
future.
Like, what's all these chemicals?
So I mean, I think this is, I think
And
this
when they increase
is,
the wattage of the panels, you have to increase the wire size and all the components in it. It's not just switch out a panel and the wire is good. It's a whole new install.
right, so I mean, I think again, this was a grant that the town had applied for, did not receive. Then they came back and said it fell through in another town. Rather than just going forward and saying, yes, we're putting it back in front of the taxpayers so that all of these things could be considered. But as Jack just said, with the potential savings multiplied times how many years, that's really where you look, you're gonna be asking the taxpayers to take a look at, yes, there'll be cost out into the future to replace, to dispose those things, but there is a 50% savings over the lifespan of potentially 20 to 30 years.
And
Right,
that's
but when
based
you
on-
present it, you're going to have more of those facts to talk to people about instead of just saying, do this.
Yeah.
Well,
Look at this. $119,000,
free.
you can replace half your power cost. And you don't have to worry about 25, 30 years, maybe even longer. And that's predicated on this year's cost of energy.
Yeah.
And
going up.
like everything else, it's a ratchet, it goes one way, and you'll be saving more in the future if power goes up, so. I mean, the reason I put them in my place is because I basically replaced my entire power, and I have excess power left over that I sell, which all that offsets my oil bill. So, I mean, it's a win-win.
I don't see any downside to this. I think this would be a great opportunity. I think it's a shame that we have to wait to have it voted on. I also want to throw a curveball out and say there's more saving opportunity if we have the police chief invest in electric police cruisers that can charge during the sunrise. But
your electric car to break down on the way to an emergency?
I'm just saying,
Plug it in.
you know what, that speed,
Yeah, so, I know you guys have other things going on, I just,
All right, hold on. You gotta-
yeah, so,
Cruisers are free, I agree with you.
yeah, I just, to stay on track, I want to just end with slide 28, take you through 28, and 29. So we just, to summarize what we've talked about, because it was kind of chopped up tonight by each department. If you look at the far right column, gives you a total of what we were looking at from the requests that we talked about tonight between roads, ventilator, the solar array, the 10-wheel truck, the cruiser, the carport, and the scale, 1.364483. The next section is the offset to revenues that we talked about. So between the grants and the revolving funds and the items that we talked about, the offset would be $598,483. Tax impact from what we talked about tonight would be the $766,000. I just point out that if you take a look at 24, 23, 22, we tried really hard to keep it at or below what we've seen in the past. If you flip over to page 29, that number does go up only because if you look at the top of the page, we have to add to that the DPW garage bond. 2026 is the last year for that one at $138,516. Then you have the road preservation bond, which we're committed to through 2029. So there's an additional $391,356 that would be added on to that number we talked about. So the amount funded, if you go right to the bottom of the page, the amount funded would be $1,157,356. And again, I just want to point out that if you take a look at 24, 23, 22, I think all the departments worked really hard this year to come forward with their urgent and necessary items to try to at least keep what we're asking for below what we have in past years of funding. So we just threw in, we put in those last two slides so you get a sense of what the impact is. Okay? You're welcome.
Good presentation, thank you.
Okay, back to the operating budget. We're almost through it. Where did we leave off? So we did animal control, so we're now on to the health department. Slight increase of $343, that's for the telephone line mostly. We did reduce other lines to try to offset that, so small increase in the health department. On welfare, there is a reduction. That was a couple boards back, decided that if a taxpayer wants to donate their own money to a charity, they are welcome to do that on their own, not through taxpayers' monies. So they reduce the donation to St. Jude's Meals on Wheels. So that budget's reduced by $1,104. Parks and Rec, their budget was reduced by $4,780. Most of that is due to rubbish removal. This year they tried the carry in, carry out, and it was very successful. So their budget was reduced. The library, he has a small increase in his operating budget of $7,357, and I believe he is scheduled to come to see you independently. The patriotic purposes, we're reducing that. We don't even know what it's for. Conservation, we're reducing that budget by $845. That's because they have a fund. We're reducing it, leaving $1 in there just in case for some reason the fund cannot offset their expenses. It would come out of the operating budget. No change in the economic development budget. There's a slight, we're adding actually an energy commission budget of $425 for the energy committee. And that is for the cost of a banner and dues to NH Energy Clean. We're reducing ambulance billing because the special revenue fund pays the ambulance billing and it's sufficed to pay it. And then our debt service. So, no change in our debt service. Sorry, I saw that $380,000 at the bottom. I thought, wait a minute, our debt's not increasing by that much. So overall, our budget was increased by $381,902, and that's a 4.13% increase. And that is the budget of the Board of Selectmen. Would you have any questions for the board while they're here?
Neil wanted to ask a question.
No. To reiterate back to Neil's point earlier, 1.5% of that is liability insurance. That's crazy.
The liability insurance and the wheelabrator, those two just,
That's, yeah,
yeah,
that's really a big
the
chunk.
wheelabrator and the hauling of our trash.
Can I just ask one question?
Yes.
On line 580, it says Parks and Rec electricity, and then it says, as a comment, twice daily watering and needed. What does that mean?
For the fields?
Oh, got it, okay.
Yep.
Does make sense.
We're both like,
Ask about the copier and printing services, do y'all have a town-wide contract, or does each department?
Unfortunately, the way the leases worked, they were all staggering. We all didn't need them at once. So we're in our third year, police is in their second year, town clerk just started. So it's all staggering. It's all the same company.
So I know that the SAU just renegotiated with a different company, and they're saving $40,000 across the SAU, and so, I don't know, something maybe.
It's
ask
definitely
the
something we're
doctor
gonna look
who they talk
into. I think one of ours is up next year. Our photocopier here, we have two here in the office, are up next year. Jason just entered into one this year, town clerk just entered one into this year. But, yeah,
Seems like an opportunity.
I'd be interested in that. Getting them all on a same schedule too would be nice.
I think you've done a great job tonight, but I'd like to hear from the Board of Selectmen
Yes,
on how
here.
they feel, what they'd like to see. I'd like some input from you guys.
Like to see as in, from you guys or the voters?
Well, it helps to hear what direction we know what you're looking at, but again, to hear from you would be very helpful.
Well, I personally, just speaking as one person, feel that, when we ask these individuals to come in, we already asked them to come in with their pencil sharpened and what they feel is bare bones. We don't, I've been on the other side, and there was always kind of this thought that we were coming in asking for the world, and it was your guys's and the Board of Selectmen's job to cut everything. It never was that way, and this year especially, I don't believe it was that way. We went through it and felt that what they were asking for was all reasonable. I think all the CIP requests are very, not only reasonable, but crucial. I didn't see any of them that was, unreasonable. And as far as equipment replacement, for both PD and highway, but, I've always been a little partial highway because I fought a long time, and you're in that position because there was years you didn't give them trucks, and same as PD with cars. You're in that position. You're never gonna get to that, how can we fund different until we get a line of trucks that are all in good shape, and we get the repair costs down, we get where they're reliable, and then you can start talking, maybe other avenues, but it's very important, this we can pause. I used to hear that, we can pause here, you can't, because it puts you back 3 years. These trucks, and I don't know about the cruisers, but the trucks are out at minimum of a year. So we're not talking about if everybody blesses this tonight or in March, that the following day we're getting a new truck and that T8's going out door, you're a minimum of a year. I do the same thing in a different town, and I'm still waiting for my 2023 truck. So, you're running these 1 to 2 more winters after. And so I would like to see support, I guess, and if you have questions of us or the department heads, please reach out. Don't make assumptions as to why. They are the subject matter experts, and we have tasked them to lead us to what they think they need to run all their departments, all of them. So anyway, I don't think there's a lot to do, a lot of cutting and dicing. You maybe move a little things around, but I don't know what you could possibly pick apart and save hundreds of thousands on in this, so.
I think a easier pill to swallow for the taxpayers would be if we had those reserve funds to pull from to reduce the tax impact. So how do we and I know it's not an easy, way to get forward, but how do we do it?
And I don't disagree with a good CIP program. I don't know how to do it in this town, especially with highway and PD, where the long-term plan is to replace one vehicle every year. I don't know how you would do that. I've put thought into that because, again, I've worked 3 different communities, and smaller communities don't require a vehicle every year. You can do that. Yeah. And we did it with other things, like I know we did that for the 20% of bridge aid. We were able to do that. But as far as a police cruiser or a plow truck specifically, I don't know. If somebody comes up with that, be happy to brainstorm. But again, department heads were years ago, before the police chief and the public works director we have now is asked, what's the rotation of your vehicles? Well, we need one every year, and I don't know how you save for that, because you gotta appropriate it here and then spend it here, but
Right.
it's worth putting thought into for sure.
If we encouraged more commercial business into where would that help increase taxes to offset the required amount that you would have to raise on property taxes?
I'm not expert enough on that to answer that question.
The amount of commercial property we have in town and the support of the community of commercial businesses is very poor.
But you can take Goffstown. They've gone from a nice rural country town to they are now Manchester West. And their taxes are off the chart. So business has not helped their taxes at all. They have a heavy tax bill. It doesn't reduce your tax overhead.
It would be interesting to see how much commercial brings in and,
That's a matter of managing it.
yeah.
Also, didn't CIP do a report? They asked people for their input on this town, and it came back that people like the rural philosophy of the town. They like it quiet. I knew it was one of those
Planning board did
things.
the master plan survey.
And you have to
Budweiser
listen to your
Factory.
towns.
I'd vote yeah.
I believe it was Bo that had, one of their key, commercial taxpayers that had moved out, and it created, a significant tax increase when they had moved out, and so there would be, of course, a lot of analysis from an economic development perspective to determine the tax revenue, jobs created, maintenance, and if there are any other offsets that are used in terms of tenancy, if they're purchasing, leasing, all of that. So it would be, I would imagine, planning, zoning, just a lot of research that would have to go into it from econ.
But the bigger trigger here is, no matter what you bring in, the big ticket, the one that raises havoc every year, it's the schools.
Bo's case is a bit different. The big taxpayer there was that power plant.
Yes.
And for decades, Bo had a really low tax rate because that power plant was paying so much. They did get more economic development and more commercial, but once that major taxpayer, and I don't know if it went to zero or what it's taxed at, but it's significantly less, and their taxes went up significantly.
And they're struggling now when it comes to the value of homes and then the tax rates.
For a long time, they didn't.
I like to put my 2 cents in for the budget. I used to get paid for fact-based management and rewarded for facts-based management. And what I mean by that is the 4.13% is basically from 2023, so that's 2024, 2025. If you look at whether it's a consumer price index or if it's the Social Security cost of living, it's roughly 3.2 in 2024 and 2.8 in 2025, 6%. So unfortunately, inflation's here, it's always been here. Our economy is set up for 2% for capital. A capitalist society doesn't operate unless you get 2% inflation. So we're 2/3 of that. Unfortunately, inflation is a very cruel tax on the low income and fixed income people. And they all have to bear the brunt worse than people who actually have to work for a living. So I'm worried about those people. And some people on Social Security, only Social Security, they're going to get 6% over those 2 years. The fact we're coming in at 4.2, I think is commendable. To Benji's point, we try to constrain from the beginning the department heads at 3%. And that was a going in, you tell us what you need to do and how you're gonna do it for 3%. Some did less, some did a little bit more, based on different circumstances. So I'm pretty happy with the budget. And I think the select board will encourage you to support the budget, the way it's written. Thank you.
Let's talk about these numbers. The 4.13% is taken by dividing the approved budget over the default budget. But the default budget for 2026 is higher than the approved budget for 2025.
Yes.
One example, if we had one election in 2025 and we're going to have 3 elections in 2026, that's a statutorily required expense, so that goes into the default budget. There are a whole bunch of things that go into the default budget because they are required by law, or we've entered into a contract previously approved by the voters, etc. It turns out that if you actually divide the proposed 2026 budget by the approved 2025 budget on the basis of which we paid our property taxes, the increase is 7.1%. Sorry, 7.0%. If we had the default budget, if the proposed 2026 budget were not approved and we had the default budget, that would represent a 2.7% increase over the 2025 budget. So from a taxpayer's point of view, the choice is default at a 2.7% increase in my taxes, or the proposed a 7% increase in my taxes. The 4.13% is an accurate number, but it really isn't related to what the taxpayer has to pay out of his pocket.
Well, I question that because you're doing, I understand the financing of it, Neil, but just like with the schools, you have to look at what do we need to keep this town functioning?
Lori, I'm not saying what you should do. I'm just trying to say that from a taxpayer's point of view, it's a 2.7% increase or a 7.0% increase. That's all. It's
Right.
not a 4.13% increase in
Right.
taxes.
Neil, for the minutes, did you say the 2026 proposed divided by the 2025 approved?
Approved,
Okay.
yes.
That's not really a good comparison, because the CW, electric bargaining unit got 2 raises in those years, okay? That didn't happen in 2024, that happened in 2024 and 5. So they're already baked into the 2025 number.
Budget, okay.
I'm just saying, that's an extreme view, but it's not what actually happened in those 2 years after 2024.
Neil, don't you have to add what the taxpayers voted on as far as
And that's
everything
the-
else?
And
too?
you're correct,
2.7.
Naomi, and have not done that, and
Right,
that needs to be done.
So when you take the warrant article for the raises and whatever passed,
And
and
add
add
that.
that, and that is your
Correct.
default, because that's what they went in there.
Can you get
and
us that number?
Gets you closer to
Thank
5.
That's
Thank
why
you,
we
Neil.
did the default, that's
Yep.
why we do the default, because you got a default, you added what was approved for the rest of
It shouldn't just
the
be
year,
about
and that's
dollars
your
and
new
cents.
number, default.
Nobody's gonna do the math, but they're gonna
I
pick and
think you
choose
do that.
what they can,
Right,
if they
so
want.
we have
She usually does that in her big book.
Yeah.
In the big book.
our magic book.
Okay, so the 2025 approved budget, Neil,
Yep.
was $9,006,111.
900006.
111.
Thank you.
Okay, now the voters did approve that number as the operating budget, and they also knew that pay increases for non-union employees were gonna go into the 2006 budget of $23,377. And they also knew that when they voted yes on the body-worn cameras, that was going to show up in our 26 budget, and that was $8,411. So that bottom budget now is $9,037,899.
So
Say that
if I
number one more
divide the
time.
proposed.
$9,037,899.
9037899.
You just,
Okay. So if I divide the 2026 proposed budget of 9634972,
mhm.
and I divide that by 9037899, I must have done something wrong. That's at 10%.
No, I think you gotta take
But you still need you still need to have 2026's collective bargaining agreement
Yep,
raised on top of that.
Yes.
Oh,
You don't get a choice.
is there more?
Is that
to get to the default number, there are more pluses and minuses.
That's.
So CBA increase,
The ZBA increase should be included because that was approved by the voters, right?
yes, 2 years back.
Right.
Yeah, what else would be there?
How much was that?
Well, the biggest change that we had this year was there's 53 pay periods this year versus 52. So we had to add a whole nother $95,000 to our budget for that extra payroll week. So that's another hurdle we had to jump over.
Okay, so if you subtract that from the proposed,
I can just make it,
I'll have to do this at home.
yeah,
Maybe the better way to ask
Yeah.
Beth is,
I'll send it to you.
what's in the what's in our default?
So our default number was at $9,037,000, okay? Plus the CBA increase, which was 96,000, plus changes in health insurance, either by the premiums go up or the plans change.
Wait a second. That's not something that goes into
Mhm.
the default.
I got on that one. I got written on that one if you want it. So that's 65,000. We subtracted 50,000 because there was a one-time expenditure. We subtracted 13,000 for decrease in debt service. We added the one extra week of payroll. Increase in state elections, only part of their budget is defaultable, not all of it. And then the increase in the workers' comp and unemployment of 13. So that's how we got to our default number.
I understand that.
Okay,
But from the taxpayer's point of view,
Yep.
some of that was approved,
correct.
some of that was not.
What do you mean?
Some of it's state law, some of it's state law.
Yeah, I know, but you can't pick and choose. Either it's in the default for 2026. You don't want to be fluffing that, that's all required by law, what we pass.
Or the voters, yep, and it goes up and
And
down.
then the difference between that and the 4.13.
No, you're
But my point is that the voters did not approve all of the items in the default budget. I understand the state requires it, but from the voters' point of view, I voted for the default budget, I voted for the ZBA, or the various contracts and so forth, and that's it. So from a comparison point of view, from the taxpayer's perspective, that's my bottom line. Anything over that, including the items that the state requires, including in the default budget, and which obviously are included in the operating budget, are something that increases my tax bill that I didn't vote for.
Okay, well, you also voted for a one-time expenditure of $50,000.
How did I do that?
Because it was in the default budget, because it was a retiree's
The
accrual.
retiree.
So you voted for that,
So you voted for that.
but you're not voting for that again this year. That was taken out.
I understand.
Okay.
If I voted for it, it'll be in there. You'll give
No,
me-
no, I took it out. You voted for it, but I'm taking it out.
It was
I
one
understand
time.
it's not in the
Okay.
default budget,
Okay,
but it's something that we voted for, so it's in the base budget for 2025.
okay.
One time.
Oh, thank you.
Show me your big book numbers and I'll work it out.
I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So any other questions on the operating budget? Everyone has my email.
You two gonna say something?
Go back and forth. Oh, yeah.
Can I ask about the town administrator position? It seems like quite
There
a
you go,
high
Jane.
salary line. I know we've got somebody who's got a ton of experience who is leaving and is making less than that. And now we're gonna bring in somebody new and have it at 145,000.
So I believe we are advertising that as up to 140. So depending on where the person lies, they could be earning that amount. As of this point, I can't give you a specific answer what that's finally going to be. So you could make the argument that our current level has been below what it should be. You know, it is what it is. This is where we are, and this is what we think going forward is going to be competitive to bring somebody in.
And then still, if you have somebody who is so well qualified that they get 145, we're still gonna do an additional 5,000 in professional development every year for that person.
You know, again,
Seems excessive to me.
well, you know, I wish I could have a nice training bonus, and budget for that. I don't get that, but I'm not in that kind of a position either. So there is always a need to do additional training, specifically when it comes to laws, because there's so many changes. I can't keep up with it, and I would expect my town administrator to be on top of these things, and somebody has to go. And so it might as well be somebody that we're paying to be here, not just, those of us who are spending our time in this office for lack of anything better to do with our lives.
I can make a couple comments on that also. That's the going rate, if you want me to.
If you could, yeah.
So, I can tell you, at least from my point of view, that's not the number I wanted. It's way higher than I wanted to make it. But the company that we hired, MRI, kind of pushed us in that direction and saying, you have a limited candidate pool, it's already slim pickings, and if you do a lower number, you're gonna get low-quality candidates. So if we want a decent candidate, we had to go with a higher number on the upper end of it. And to James's point, that doesn't mean that's what we're gonna end with, that's just the top end, depending on the candidates we get. And again, that wasn't the number I wanted, but, I mean, you're gonna get garbage if you pay garbage, so.
I get, like, I'm not an expert at all. I did quick Googling and it seemed really high.
It's
based on
in
state
line,
averages,
it's
so-
actually in line with comparable towns. It's not out of bounds at all. Some towns are actually smaller and making more, so. It's if you did a survey of all the towns, we're right where we need to be, so.
Yeah. That's a difficult thing to do when you're looking at, all we can do is compare to other towns, and you can say, well, you're picking the wrong towns.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible, but, we try to hire the experts that know what that we hope they know what they're doing when it comes to hiring somebody, and these are the numbers they come back
We
with.
just gotta keep an eye on that little air pocket, that if we hire somebody at 120, we budgeted for 145, and, at the end of the year, that the taxpayers are fronting that, so that money should come back, some of it, that consideration. Yeah.
James, some years ago, and I hope they do it today, the Municipal Association, I believe Ware is still a member,
Yes.
they published a salary document, and you could go into that and look up any town you wanted to. You could sort by the size of the population of the town, and you could find out the salaries of every town, 9,000, 6,000 to 12,000, whatever your range was. You might want to take a look at that, so that when these candidates come in, it may be that MRI is.
MRI did that based on the recent hires that they've been familiar with. And this is where we're at.
But they seem always to be very high. Let's put it that way.
So Neil, NHMA has a wage survey. It hasn't been done in about 3 years. You can look at it, but if you don't want to participate and send in your information, you don't get it. It's not mandatory. So it's not a fair assessment.
The municipal association,
Yeah, they
that
can
is no
send you a
longer
survey
accurate?
and say, we'd like all these positions and what you pay. I'm busy, I'm not gonna do it. So it's not mandatory that every town does it, so it's not a real true accurate.
But I'm suggesting you could pick out the towns that did submit.
Well, that's not-
That was done for us.
That was done for us.
That was presented to us.
And you got all the towns? All that they could get?
The towns that
There's
were
like
presented to
there's,
us,
7 positions open too right now
Yeah.
across the state of New Hampshire.
And
So
did
the
any of
pickings are pretty good.
did you think that all the towns that on that list were reasonable
like I just
comparisons?
said, that's not the number I wanted.
No, I understand
It's
that.
the number that we need to be at. And it's because of these other towns. If you look at what the other towns are paying, and the experience that the town administrators that they're hiring have, we're right in line. It's not,
Were there any towns that were not, that you thought we should compare ourselves to, that were not included in the list because, as Naomi said, they didn't submit information?
I don't really know. I don't know how to answer that, sorry.
It's hard to say, when you don't know, it's hard to say,
No, but for
the things that
example,
are
if they
missing.
didn't have Hillsborough, and they didn't have New Boston, and they didn't have Hopkinton, and they didn't have Dunbarton. Those are towns, you know, that should have
Agreed.
been on the list.
Well, the last New Boston one was north of that, and I can
Yeah.
tell you that, so.
Was it, but the question is whether
And how long
on the
did it
list.
last?
Yeah, listen here.
I'm just saying
It
that
lasted a year.
the last New Boston one was north of that figure, and he went somewhere else for more money.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's a bidding war
Wow.
from a small pool of
Dollar
things.
That's
amounts,
6,000
they're
people
chasing the
now.
dollars.
So again, we're talking about somebody who has, who would have experience, who would have current experience and all the training and all of the understanding, to be able to just jump in and be up to speed within weeks, as opposed to, paying somebody, $30,000, where we have to do all the training, and they basically wouldn't be able to do anything right away. So, there are pluses and minuses to all of that. And we figured, based on timing, based on everything, trying to find somebody who can jump in as quickly as possible was the better alternative. So, but in terms of the budget as a whole, I want to point out, I understand we're talking, and to Neil's point, we're talking about an increase over last year. When you look at the hard number, it's going to be something like, from default to default is going to be around 3%, 3.5%, 4%. Plus, we're now asking an additional 4% on top of that, to get up to where we are right now. I mean, I get that, but I also want to point out, we're talking about less than 20% of the whole town budget.
18%.
So 18%, yes, it's still $9 million that's sitting in that little thing, but it's a tiny fraction. It's 18% of the whole, and there's a very large chunk that everybody seems to basically gloss over. It's always done great, where their budget is always less than their default somehow. But there's,
That did happen once.
it's happened, but they're always able to keep their budgets relatively low, and their increases relatively low, but we're still talking very large numbers. If they, if you got between schools, if you got, what is it, between the two school systems, we've got $30 million, excuse me. If you want a 10% cut in that, that's a very large number. We're not gonna get it, but, you can look at trying to get $100,000 out of the town budget. Again, 18% of the whole. But if you were to get a 10% cut out of that 69%, you could get $100,000 out of that, and it'd only be a fraction of, it wouldn't even, be a fraction of a percentage. So don't just look at the percentages, look at the total numbers, and look at the thing as a whole. We're asking about, and what we can only control is a very small sliver of the whole. So I encourage you to continue to look at all the budget. Yes, we need to be diligent, and we try to be fairly transparent, but that's only 20%. What's the transparency on the other chunk of money?
And
So-
4 contracts coming on top of that.
Yeah. So, yep, nobody likes to pay taxes, we have to, and to the point of trying to get around, coming to the CIP with a new truck every year, it comes down to revenue. Where are we gonna get the money? And the town we can either do fees or we can do taxes. There's no revenue generated by the town. It's everybody. Everybody contributes, some more than others and some happier than others. But, basically comes to taxes. And so we can either tax and put a line in the general budget, so now we have $300,000, every year in the budget. No more need for a plow truck to come to CIP. Or we come to CIP every year and ask them for a warrant article. It's going to be the same amount of revenue coming, and there's no getting around it, unfortunately, unless we come up with some other, random way of generating money somehow. We can charge more for, car registrations, I suppose, you know. I'm not saying that, I'm just saying, you know, the money's only gonna come basically from one place, and which way do you want it to come? So,
We could have a raffle.
we could have a town bake sale.
There you
know,
go.
so that people can, so, I'm done. I thank you guys for your diligence, sitting with you guys for 6 years previously. I always found it very fascinating to learn from that side. I've been learning from this side a little bit more too. I think we did a pretty good job.
I'd like to thank the selectmen for coming in tonight too. It's good to have you all here to add in some more information and justification. It's good to hear all viewpoints.
I just want to say one thing before I leave. So even though we're proposing the $9,600,000 budget, you have to understand that we bring in over $4 million of revenue. So when we go and set our tax rate, we're only asking the taxpayers for $5 million. The warrant article says $9 million, we raise an appropriate $9 million, but the offices here, the departments, we raise over $4 million, so only taxation has to be $5 million. So just want to let you know
And we
that.
do our deliberations on the bottom
Yeah.
line number.
Usually your revenue comes in higher because you're conservative.
Very conservative, because
Yep.
I don't want to tell you it's high and it comes in low.
Yeah.
I'd rather come in low and have it come in high.
Right.
That's great.
Well, thank you, Beth, and to
Thank
Denise too. Appreciate the time spent and the time spent tonight here with us. It's very much appreciated. Anybody else have anything,
Add a new
Can we add a
computer to the
computer
budget.
on there?
anybody else have anything you want to add?
Good time.
Our next meeting is Tuesday, December 9th at 6:30 here. So we'll have some time to deliberate. We're going to be meeting with the schools on the 23rd. So there'll be no school that night.
Yeah, the school, West schools are meeting again on this, they moved theirs for a second. And we should hear more on their teacher's contract.
By the time they come.
In the finalized budget.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If it
they're coming
changes.
in about 8%.
We haven't got their revenue numbers yet. We don't have their bottom line. Not finalized.
Just so you should know, and I don't think they're going to change this, the Ware schools have a bond that no longer, that has been paid off.
Yep.
Roughly $900,000?
Yeah.
Roughly $900,000. Under ordinary circumstances, their budget would drop by $900,000 plus whatever percentage increase they would get for the year.
It's not,
But that's not what they've done.
No,
no.
of course not.
They ate the $900,000 and got the percentage increase.
Yep.
Their budget, again, is up about 8%.
Yes, it's three,
Ignoring separate warrant articles.
yeah, it's 3%, but then if you said, well, the 900,000, you take that out,
That's right.
really the rest
Then
of
it
their
goes up.
budget went up 8,
Right.
Yeah.
so.
Can you count the 900,000 entirely? Wasn't there a split with building?
There is some revenue from the state that offset that $900,000.
Yeah, it was more than half.
And you're losing that. But just if you're doing budget to budget,
Yep.
Right.
it's an 8+% increase.
But
5% represented by the 900,000 and 3% represented by their.
were we spending the 900,000 every year, or were we spending 4 and change?
We were spending roughly 5.
Five.
Net of 5.
Yeah,
But they spent the full 9, obviously, and we're not going to get the 5.
it was in the budget. It was in, as, the whole 9 was as an entry in the capital, I mean, in the spending?
No, they show a reduction in the line for debt service of $900,000.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And even with that, okay?
Okay, yeah,
Still up
right.
three.
Still
The
up,
rest of the budget.
right.
So they just took that
Well,
900,000.
it's like when you save $150,000 in gas, and your budget area goes up 2%, let's say, just hypothetically. Or even if it goes down 1%, it's still, that gas money is not really a savings. It's a reduction of an expense. It's a savings, but it's not really the same. And this is the same thing.
And of course, if this budget were adopted, then we've increased their spending by 8% permanently after we just
Sure.
approved
Yeah.
two massive increases for the labor contract.
Right.
Wait till you see what this contract's coming in at.
I assume 5%.
We'll find out. No, well,
Well,
yeah, we'll
And
find
it's
out.
not, it's more than 5%.
It'll be interesting to look at how they adjust
'Cause they
the
didn't.
tables and the steps, because when you get if you get I did some numbers, well, just enough said, if they said, well, we're gonna increase our tabular numbers in the table by 5%, and it's a 5% raise, it's really not, because a teacher who's teaching today, and he has a bachelor's in 10 years,
Steps up.
Yep.
that person next year will be paid, not here, went up 5%, they get paid the next step. Next step, the 5% on the next step. So you just multiply the 5% up to about 8.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would love to see it down around 2. And then, but even 2 would actually, 2 turns into 4 real quick.
Yeah.
You start looking at the table. I don't know, I've gotta ask those type of questions when they come in and show this is what we're doing, to verify, oh, that's how it works. Because that's how it works.
If there's a default this year, we will permanently reduce taxes by net of $500,000.
Right.
And if we don't, then it's forever built into the budget.
Correct.
Every future default budget will be that much higher.
Correct.
And the superintendent is well aware of this, we've had the discussion.
Oh, yeah.
They're playing hardball.
Discussions on other things like, why is it always 5%? They built the 5% for spreading the wealth of raises in the staff.
The SAU budget went up by 6-point-something%.
Can we save
All right, I
this
think
for
everybody's-
Huge enough for staff
I just-
increase.
I just wanna-
Everybody's,
I just want to make one quick little point.
Hitting the wall.
I pulled Henniker, New Boston, Merrimack, Ware, Goffstown, Bow, Deering, Bedford, Dunbarton, and Francistown through the Revenue New Hampshire town tax rate. When we look at the municipal tax rate for the town, we are close to the cheapest, along with Bedford for the tax rate, so we spend less on our taxes for the municipality side. But then when you look at the local education rate, we are the highest. So it's kind of interesting to see how we're the lowest and then the highest. Education is right by New Boston and Merrimack, but if you guys want to take a look at the rates.
Love to look at that.
can you email that?
Send that to
Can you
Yep,
send it
I
out?
can.
Send it to us, yeah.
That'd be
Yep.
great.
So I just thought that was kind of eye-opening comparison for everyone around us,
Sure,
so.
thank you.
Yep.
Night, night.
All right, I will make a motion that we adjourn this
Second.
long night.
Everybody second.
Me and Lori. Anybody, all those opposed? Okay, we're adjourned.